Hi, good morning. Welcome to The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 City FM and on Channel 1 Television. We're also live on our socials, and we'll be happy to hear from you. The WhatsApp number on which you can send your comments is 020-444-7033 or 0549-986-996, and we'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. The nation has been mourning for the past week or so, and yesterday the state funeral hopefully brought an end to all of that period of national mourning. The president says he was hopeful that the state funeral will bring closure to the grieving nation, even though, of course, he believes that individuals in their own way may be mourning their loved ones. But essentially, what are the lessons we are learning from this? This morning, we'll be taking a look back at the sorrowful burial service and the circumstances that led to the burial. A number of things have come up in terms of military, in terms of what the possible causes could have been, even how did the state organize this. The parties and the military persons have been posthumously promoted. The president says that for the civilians, on a national award day, they will give them befitting awards, etc. The question is, what can we make with their sacrifice? What policy interventions can we make so that tomorrow we can say that their sacrifice was worthwhile? Also, in terms of investigation, this week we learned that the Ghana Armed Forces announced that it was seeking to collaborate with other people and international assistance for the investigations into the matter. A number of things have been thrown out there, but we all expect that the investigations will be root and branch so that we'll get to the bottom of this, learn lessons, and proceed. This is The Big Issue. My guests seated. I'll take a short break. When I return, I will introduce them, provide you some updates, and then we'll hear the discussion. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back. This is The Big Issue. Two key issues. We are looking at two key issues which will have different legs and different branches. One is a look back at the sorrowful burial service to honor the fallen 8 who died in that tragic helicopter accident on August 6. A number of things have come up, and we'll delve into all of that. Also, the Ghana Armed Forces has announced that it's collaborating with some international partners to get to the bottom of the matter in terms of the investigations. Of course, others, when the investigations were announced, said that they did not feel that the Ghana Armed Forces should be leading a process that investigates itself, given that it was a military aircraft and military persons who were in charge of the aircraft. That discussion appears to be coming up again. And now the Ghana Armed Forces itself says it was collaborating with international partners. Does that bring some reprieve to persons who feel that the Ghana Armed Forces may conceal some part of the investigation, may not be very transparent as we would have wished? That is also up for discussion this morning. My guests this morning, Richard Kumado is a security consultant, the Honorable Isaac J. Mensah, a member of Parliament for Wasa East, the Honorable Ofosu Asamoah, former MP for Kadi, and then former boss at the National Labour Commission. And Nanayo Akwada is Executive Director of the Bureau for Public Safety. Lawrence Kofi Champon, Forensic Medical Scientist and Security Intelligence Researcher. And of course, Franklin Kujo, President, Imani Africa. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you.
But before that, let's provide some update. Now, Ghana has laid to rest the 8 victims of the Adansi helicopter crash in a solemn state burial, marked by the launch of a children's support fund to care for the young dependents the victims left behind. President Mahama also honored the fallen Air Force personnel with posthumous promotions in recognition of their service.
Peter Bafemi Anala is promoted to the rank of Wing Commander. Flying Officer Manan Chum Ampedu is promoted to the rank of Flight Lieutenant. Sergeant Ernest Adomensa is promoted to the rank of flight sergeants. These are not just symbolic gestures. They represent the rightful place these officers have earned in our Republic's roll of honor, and the benefits due to their families will be reflected in these new ranks. The Chief of the Defense Staff will oversee the ceremonial presentation of the posthumous promotion insignias to their families. Our other colleagues who were civilians will be posthumously recognized at the next National Honors Ceremony.
The President, John Mahama, also announced the establishment of a Children's Support Fund to cater for the children of the 8 victims of the disaster.
The next decision that the government has made is for the creation of a Children's Support Fund for the children of the victims of the 6th August helicopter crash. The purpose of this fund is clear. It is to ensure that the children left behind will never be deprived of the opportunities, the care, and the security that their parents worked so hard to provide for them. We Ghanaians live in a culture that upholds collective responsibility, especially where community and family are concerned.
And that was John Dramani Mahama. Later in the program, we will be hearing from the widows of some of the fallen 8. My guest, the Honorable Isaac J. Mensah, Member of Parliament for Wassa East, and then Ofosu Samoa, former MP for Kade, Richard Kumado, Security Consultant, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, Lawrence Kofi Achampon, Forensic Medical Scientist and Security Intelligence Researcher, and Nanaya Wakwada, Doctor, Executive Director, Bureau of Public Safety. Once again, you're welcome to the program. Also, we'll be joined by Professor Kwesi Agyekum, who is an aviation accident investigator. Let me start off with you, Honorable Member of Parliament, Isaac J. Mensah. Were you at the funeral? Will you say that the burial service we saw befittingly gave our heroes, a good farewell?
Thank you so very much for this opportunity to be with you here. I think I'm coming here for the first time.
You're welcome.
Issues, locating our bearings.
But
whatever it is, we are here. There are a couple of activities, funeral activities that I need to partake, but because of the importance of this discussion, I decided to come in here. So
we appreciate
thank you so very much for that. Let me take this opportunity to greet our distinguished viewers and other important personalities. Reference to the President of the state, who yesterday put a closure to the state of mourning for the nation, and many more, and others. The NDC and my colleagues and everybody. My friend here, it's been a while, so it's so refreshing to see you here. Unfortunately, we have come to discuss something which isn't too palatable, but whatever it is, we have to talk about it. So we are here to talk about our colleagues, our heroes, who lost their lives in line of duty. And for the military, we call it in line of action. Yesterday was when the final funeral, rites or performance took place. And it was, for me, it was one of the most saddest periods in my life. Looking through the various tributes and biographies, and what even pushed me more sadder was when the president was giving his speech. The previous ones during the time of the funeral one for our fellow Muslims, his delivery, his speech was also one of the most saddest to me. But yesterday was very worrying. So we are here today talking about it again. I wish I never came here. I thought we had finished these discussions. Yesterday, I deliberately decided not to talk to others than talking to the media, because I'm very much hurt by this incident. two among them, precisely the late Dr. Murtala and the late Sapol. These were two close personalities that I'm not sure that I will be able to overcome that in a couple of months or years, but I pray that the good Lord will help us all. So yes, I was there. If you have to discuss the details, then we can go into it. But I was there.
I see. Honorable former MP, I mean, they say that a nation that doesn't honor its heroes is not worth dying for. Do you think that we've held these people up good enough or well enough for others to want to sacrifice and die for the nation even in line of duty? Have we held this up well enough? Would they be proud of how we did them farewell?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Like my colleague just mentioned, surprisingly, it's also my first time of coming to this studio. So coming here, I lost my way. I went to Adabraka.
Oh, we apologize.
And, let me first congratulate you. You've really, really done well.
Thank you.
I mean, I remember the years when CTFM started. I used to be a regular guest of yours. And, Richard Sky and all that.
Yes.
So you've done well. Congratulations. Yes,
Thank
and
you.
now to the question for the day. Whether the state gave them a befitting burial or has honored them enough. I must say yes. In fact, as a state and as a people, we couldn't have done better than what we have done now. Let me congratulate the president for quickly putting himself together and his team to give our colleagues and heroes this state funeral and a befitting burial. Murtala, Muniru, and Paul have been known to me. But as for Murtala, we were very close. I've known him in Parliament and even outside Parliament. I used to see him most of the times in the morning when I'm going for a walk. And he would drive past. He often would stop and congratulate me and urge me on that I'm doing well. I mean, looking at the distance I make. He was quite a straightforward person. And at least candid with what he did. Muniru, I remember when he was a Northern Regional Minister, we once went there. I used to chair the Lands and Forestry Committee. So we were going around. I went to him. We were talking about poverty. He said, my friend, if you want to look for poverty, don't go researching into books. Look at the face of the people here in my region, you see what poverty means. So we used to talk. But I think that we have done enough as a nation for them, especially when we did not only seek to bury them, gather and mourn, but looking into the future, how the state has put things together to take care of the family and the children they have left behind. Yes, because I hear one of them is the squadron leader, had a child who is just 2 weeks old, and the sergeant had just been married for a month. You can imagine what the wife will be going through and they are taking care of the children. So the establishment of a fund to take care of the children and the family, their welfare, their education and health needs, that is very, very good. And I must commend the government under the presidency for that. And especially for all Ghanaians. You know, I thought in Ghana, we are divided on political lines. So sharply divided that you ever think that we can come together, except for football. When we are playing ball, all of us come together. But then, within this short period and coming from the crash and the loss, all of us have been together. I'm yet to see any politics in this. I have not seen much. Of course, there are a few people who always, go the way they want to go. But I think that together, and for once, Ghanaians have come together to celebrate our heroes, giving them a befitting burial, and under the leadership of His Excellency, establish something good to take care of them. It is my prayer that we will not wait for such things to happen involving high-profile personalities before we do things like this. I'm not saying that everybody who dies in the line of duty should have such a big funeral and this thing, but with the establishment of the fund to take care of the children, the family, and so on, because there have been cases where people have died in road accidents. You remember the 3 urologists who died in the road accident? Well, I don't know what happened to them. We have had this policeman, this constable, who was shot while he was escorting the bullion van around Agbogboshi or so.
At Abilikuma.
At Abilikuma.
The police
and others
officer.
who have lost their lives. So instead of establishing, coming out with a fund on each case basis, perhaps in future we could have a fund or an insurance policy to take care of people. Because sometimes we may announce these funds that we have set up a fund, a public bank, and years later you see people coming out to say that yes, the fund was established, we never benefited. We don't even know who the managers are. It has happened in the past.
But this one, the president has said that he was going to take personal interest in it, and in the next 30 days, he was going to publish guidelines and processes.
I am saying this because I know how committed presidents are when they are in office.
But they work with people.
But if they work with people, the president has announced it. You see, when you are in leadership, that is why we say leaders don't need experience. They need a vision. Express your vision. This is what I want to do. And then you make sure that, the technocrats and the people working under you have to take part. But sometimes presidents make declaration, leaders make declaration, and those responsible for it do not do it the way he expects or with the good heart he would have wanted it to perform. And especially, these children growing up are not going to live under President Mahama all their life.
There will be various presidents.
The president
who must show similar commitment to the fund.
There could be, assuming NDC was even still in office, a new president comes. He may not be committed to it and may take less interest. The MPP comes to power and they say, oh, they were in after all, they were NDC people and the president. Yeah, that's why I am thinking that in future, going forward, at least it has come to stay, and it is with us that people will always die in the line of their duty. I know a teacher who, a student, some students beat up a teacher and he died somewhere in the eastern region. Is that right?
Yes, we had news like that. I'm not sure about the location.
But I'm sure, yes, because he was during invigilation in their exams, he was strict and he would not allow them to copy. You can say that this teacher died in the course of his duty, right? But because perhaps it wasn't a plane crash or it wasn't something, no, the others. We recently had an accident where, well, they may not have died in the line of their duty. These 15 children who died in an accident, they were bad. So perhaps the president has done this. I commend him for that. But as a country, let us look at it. What is likely to happen? You know, the engineers have said that the first law of safety mechanics, whatever can happen will happen. So if there's a possibility of people dying in the line of their duty when serving the state, what would we do for their family when they are gone? So that when we are serving, we will all serve. Because look at this teacher, he was just being strict during vigilation that children don't misconduct themselves and listen. He ends up being ambushed and beaten. The next time, if I'm a teacher and people are copying, what do I do? I just close my afro, what do I lose? You take your vigilation fee, walk away, and the children will even be singing. So the police...
So what do you... I get what you're saying. Where do you put this? Do you think that the mood of the nation and how we have handled this and taken this is because some of the persons involved were public servants or politicians necessarily?
No.
Because you made a point that, you know, others have died in line of duty, so the police officer and all of those, but we do not see this outpouring of grief. Or is it the nature of the accident, and many of them to have died, you know, in road accidents? We've not really seen this.
Right or wrong, or whether we accept it or not, this is not the first time a crash has come. But this is a crash involving very important personality, like the Minister of Defense. The Minister of Defense among the ministers is like the primus inter pares. Under the Fourth Republic, since Ghana had this independence, all our Republican constitution and our democratic process have been disturbed by only one institution, which is the army. Nkrumah, Buzia, Liman. Any time our democratic process is truncated or disturbed, it is by the army, right? So that every president, the first ministry he considered to put one of his trusted generals or his lieutenants or the people around him is the person who keep watch over the army. So if Omani Buama is made the defense minister, it tells you how much the president has trust in him to get somebody to keep them so that he can enjoy his full term. So that not only enjoying his full term, but the track on which Ghana is on the road of democracy and development, it's not disturbed or derailed. You understand? So the president is likely to be very much devastated with the loss of the defense minister. Second is Mutala, who is the minister for environment. Under President Nanado, under President Mahama, and this thing, there's one thing all Ghanaians are calling for. That is the disturbance and the degradation of our environment, especially due to Galamsey. And these people were on a mission to do something that is was going to help curb Galamsey. So that it is not the president, it is not the party or the government, but this is something that all Ghanaians are involved. And the personality is involved. If it were you and I who died in the plane crash, after Wing Commander Gikribisi and others, TT and others have died in crashes. But look at the personalities involved, right? And especially when they died, they were not visiting their family also by in the line of duty. So it is not because, but whether we like it or not, important personalities were involved. That is why it catches the attention of everybody. And I think, like I said, the state has done well. But going forward, we do not have to wait for big personalities to die before we take decision, except that their death is a key and an eye-opener, right? Perhaps to us, to be thoughtful that, yes, after all, this is not only possible for constables, for teachers and others to die in the line of duty, but it could happen to anybody. I hear the president was even supposed to fly at the time. Assuming we lost the president, can you imagine what would have happened to this country? I mean, that would have been worse. So, and I hear that this chopper is often used for executive evacuation and evacuation, moving around of high-profile personalities. Sometimes they talk about the age of the aircraft. I think it's as old as my wife.
No, this we understand was given to us by China 2 years ago. We understand.
Yes, it was given to us 2 years ago.
Yes.
But how old is it?
Well,
I know the Americans gave us a naval ship, that is Bonsu also, around the time we were going to Liberia. How old was it when it was given to us? That Bonsu is about...
Because we hear this is fairly new. This is new, fairly new.
Fairly new. It's like our presidential jet.
Jets.
It is only a refurbished one. And I don't think that... we used to have our whole president. He says a decorated monkey is still a monkey.
I see. Honorable, the point also about the outpouring of grief. Many have said that, if these were, it's because they were politicians and all of that. If it had purely been perhaps the officers, many think, or many have said that the outpouring of grief may not have been as massive as we have seen. What do you think of that?
Yeah, thank you. Back to, if you would allow me to come in here, back to the point that whether we've given a befitting funeral. Yes. I think that I wish it doesn't happen again because it's not good to talk about it. But when we want to talk about the manner, the real manner, this tragic, incident or problem occurred, and the president swiftly, went into action and manage the whole situation. I think it's one of the best that we could ever get from a competent and efficient president. You want to talk about the 3 days mourning, 3 days of mourning where the Ghana flag was lowered, and north, south, east, and west. We were in a period of grief. Virtually, Ghana was seriously mourning, and that is where I think that the unity of Ghana, the state Ghana, as it is shown, it stands in the middle of the world, and it demonstrates why we are still Ghana in spite of challenges and problems. You go to Liberia and many other areas in Africa, in West Africa, you see upheavals and those challenges, but Ghana is still united. And when this crash, this tragedy happened, and the president came out through the chief of staff to announce the challenge, with those events being lined up, and as I did say, the 3 days of state mourning, marvelously well, and everybody was in the state of mourning. NDC, MPP. Yesterday, for instance, when we were at the funeral ground, to see the majority, the minority, we were all in full gear. Everybody, we were all there, and wherever we went, when we visited the deceased, right from Dr. Manibuama, Mutala, Muniru, we were all together, the minority with the majority. We went round and we did what was supposed to be done. So I think that the period, not only the president provided leadership, and I want to commend the president and the government for that, but Ghanaians also demonstrated that togetherness, that unity in terms of grief. You see, culturally, we revere the dead. And when leaders, whether a chief or a bishop opinion, will want to come out to provide direction and leadership, you see everybody coming together. And it was exemplified, it was shown around this time. And that is why, and I agree with my colleague, that indeed President Mahama and his government, we don't wish it happened again, but the swiftness and the competence with which this tragic incident was managed right down to the time of the funeral, and hoping that we've put a closure to it, is very relevant and important. It is also very important that we know this, that the issue relating to the kids, that is the support fund, and the support trust fund, the support fund, that is also one of the best that the president, could have done for them. And look at the young ones. How are they going to come up? But that fund, as was, said by the president, an initial 500,000 has been, brought out as a seed fund, supported by, by the government and the Stanbic Bank, and that is to start in the way of trying to cater for the kids, their school fees, their health needs, and their well-being. I think that is to show or to give assurance to the kids as to how they're going to go through life. What is the significance? The significance is also that the kids and all over, you get to know that when your parents, when you die for your country, the country will always also come for you. So we have that comfort that in terms of their education, their health, and their well-being, the fund will do so much for that. But the other side of it, also the issue relating to the posthumous promotion, to the fallen, the dead military people. That is also one of the good things that the president could have done. But there are also benefits in there, because the promotion also comes with some remuneration or some benefits, and the family will accordingly take advantage of that. But see, as Ghanaians, we have two sides of the coin. We have the immediate family, the nucleus family, and extended family. So all we've seen here is the nucleus family. So the benefit, the child support is going to the kids. The other one is what is the family, the mother, and so on and so forth. Of course, we will have to, and my colleague was the head of the Labour Commission. So we obviously will activate the labour law, and we will activate the interstate citizen law, where appropriate compensation will go to the family, and also I'm talking about the extended family and the nucleus family. So there is also this component of workman compensation. And yesterday I heard others saying that is there going to be any insurance payment and so on and so forth. That one will be taken care of by the system. Because wherever you work, there are insurance, or there are some provisions.
The service people, I mean, I'm sure it comes with their terms of condition, their conditions of service.
Exactly. And so that one is there, and it specifies what goes to the kids, the wife, and also the extended family. I'm talking about the one in the family, the extended family, that's the seats, the deceased. So that one will be comfortably taken care of by the system. So that's why I was talking about the fact that we need to trigger or activate the structure. So workman compensation, for instance, my colleague Abuaji, who was a public servant and so on, the doctor, because they died in service, they will activate the system, and appropriate compensation will also be paid. And that is where it is clear that the extended family will also be rewarded and accordingly. So whatever it is, we've taken charge of the nucleus family, the immediate family, the wife and the kids. But I'm talking about it because somebody would think that nothing is done to the mother or the Bisopeni or the other extended family siblings. The structures are there, and we all have to activate them accordingly. But it is important that we all get to know that across the country, north, east, south, and west, we all came together in this morning situation. The president provided the leadership, and everybody can bear testimony that we never brought issue relating to politics and so on and so forth. And we hope that the finality of the closure will take effect. But I can assure you it is not going to take, formally, it is, putting a closure to, because the president said after the 15th, then we can get into work. So the public servants and will get to work. But I'm very much aware that the families, particularly that can't, will also have to perform some funerals again wherever they have come from. And so you realize that we'll soon be getting notification as to the performance of Nkofurubia for our brother Omani Bamwa and many more. It's a requirement, and that will be done. I know for the Muslims, for them, I think that one, they are very much smart in managing the debt. And so for them, it's done, and it's done very well, unless I think about 40 days where they will bring it up again. Okay. So I think that for me, the government,
so you think that the government has done its bit, and you think we've buried them and we've dealt with them honorably. That's fine. Let me speak to Professor Kwesi Ejekum, who is an aviation accident investigator. Also, of course, Lawrence Kofi Champon, forensic medical scientist and security intelligence researcher, is also on the line. But Prof, good morning, welcome to the program. I don't know where you were yesterday, but did what you saw yesterday make you proud as somebody who understands aviation, accident, etc., and somebody who is in some kind of public service? Were you proud of how we laid our compatriots to rest, given everything that came before yesterday or climaxed yesterday?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the set. And once again, yes, even though we finished with the ceremonies and everything, we still have to keep their families in our thoughts and in our prayers, because so soon they'll be left alone. And as a former, retired Ghana Air Force officer, I really understand how the whole process transpired yesterday. Yes, I was proud as a Ghanaian seeing the dignified way in which we honored these heroes. And it's my hope that it's not just going to be a one-time affair. This is where actually the work starts. What we learn from this event, how we continue to care and to sustain the bereaved family, the spouses, the children. That will be sort of a lasting legacy to their memory. So I hope that it's not just all going to be niceties. We finish, we forget about them. We don't learn anything as a nation, as an organization, so that we become proactive. Normally from a purely aviation accident investigator and also a safety consultant, it's always our hope that we don't have an aviation accident. And so what we do going forward, making sure that comprehensively we get to understand the causal and contributory factors to this accident, and then we ensure systemic improvement, and make our operations safe, is going to be the lasting legacy to the memory, especially of the service personnel. And so, yes, I was proud that we give them the befitting send-off or celebration worthy of heroes for our country, because they say a nation that does not honor its heroes is not worth dying for. And so we still have a lot to do to make sure that we do whatever is necessary as a lasting legacy to their memory.
Interesting. You said you've dealt with situations, aviation accidents, piloting, etc. The question we never cease, asking is, what possibly could have gone wrong? We've asked this question 1,001 times, and you experts have told us we should wait for the investigations to conclude, etc. But what are the possibilities? What possibly could have gone wrong in this, especially as we know that at the time we were told that the aircraft went off radar, it flew for about 15 minutes. About 3 minutes, we understand, away from its landing spot. So even though it might have gone off radar, it was still on course. So what possibly could have happened? What could have happened? Taking into consideration the fact that people in the area said they saw it flying a bit lower. And so if there was a problem, why couldn't it locate a place to land? You know, these are the issues, you know, bothering our minds. And you as someone who has been there before, what possibly could have gone wrong? Of course, without prejudice to the investigations.
Yeah, thank you. And you just captured the exact word I was going to say. Without prejudice to the investigation, as an investigator, I wouldn't like to sit here and speculate without factual data. Okay, so basically, I would just want my audience. Yes, I mean, based on my experiences and having investigated a similar helicopter accident within the Ghana Air Force, yes, I might be entitled to my own hypothesis and, you know, possibilities. But that is not something that professionally, ethically, I would like to air on in the air. I just want to address some of it's let's say a lot of things is out there in the public domain that needs to be addressed. And so, first of all, I'd like to tackle the flight following aspect. Okay. Normally, if an aircraft takes off from maybe the Air Force Base en route to Obuasi, in this case, it was a helicopter. And most of the time, helicopters fly under what we call the visual flight rules, you know, because by the nature of helicopter flying, they would normally want to use landmarks because they are going to remote areas where this is not an airport where you have an established approach, instrument approach facility to guide them to land. So most helicopters, it's traditional. They always fly at an altitude that allows them to be, have visual references on the ground. And so normally when they file for visual flight rules, they are in contact with Kotoka. The Air Force doesn't control the airspace of Ghana. I mean, in terms of traffic separation and advisories. That is done by Accra under the ATS, Air Traffic Services of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. And so, yes, they will take off, they will be in contact with Kotoka or the area radar who provides them with what we call advisories. So they will give them weather, they will give them separation information, and then about 60 nautical miles away, there's a ring, concentric radar ring around Accra. They will be handed over to Kumasi. Okay? And so after 60 nautical miles, Accra hands them over to Kumasi. Kumasi will give them what we call the meter or the hourly meteorological data for Kumasi, which will guide the pilots to know that, hey, what is the meteorological condition around Kumasi and its environment. And so when we are talking about the fact that, it went off radar, the point is that for a helicopter like that, a lot of it depends on what we call secondary surveillance radar, which means that the helicopter is transmitting its transponders, it's transmitting signals to Kotoka for them to monitor. But because they've handed over to Kumasi, at that point, the focus is to continue with Kumasi. Kumasi doesn't have a radar. And so if we say they've gone off radar, it doesn't mean that something has happened in the immediate instance they went off radar. Remember, they are also flying low. And sometimes radar signals, unlike sat-based navigation, which is now the modern trend, we have what we call the automated dependent surveillance broadcast, which is used now because that satellite is able to triangulate your exact location via satellite and ground repeater stations to air traffic control. This helicopter didn't have ADSB on board. And so, of course, it's going to rely on the communication between the crew and Kumasi. And then, of course, Air Force headquarters also has an operational command and control center. And so normally at low levels, because of the low-level flight situation and potentially high grounds, very high frequency communication can be attenuated. And so it is when they establish contact with Kumasi, Kumasi will get contact with Accra, and to Air Force headquarters, operational command and control center, they try to monitor and provide relevant flight safety critical information to the crew. Getting close to Obuasi, obviously because it's visual flight rules, they are descending. There was this eyewitness report that the weather, specifically the visibility at that time, was misty. And so most helicopter pilots in a situation like that will try to navigate the aircraft in such a way that they steer clear of clouds and misty conditions. Because remember, it is visual. They have to see the ground. Okay. The problem with flying from visual conditions and trying to navigate your way around maybe poor visibility conditions, like misty conditions, is that as human beings, as we sense our environment, we build a mental model. So we try to understand what is happening around us. Anytime there is an obscuration to the senses in terms of what we see, and at the same time we are in motion, our body senses and what we are seeing or not seeing creates, there's a discordance between the two. And that sort of brings in what we call illusions. And if you are not careful, and normally if you don't rely on your instruments in the cockpit, you have experienced it before as an Air Force pilot, as an airline pilot, I've experienced it before. And sometimes if you don't really, it is difficult because your senses might be telling you that, hey, you are in a left bank, you are in a right bank, you are descending. Meanwhile, you look at your instrument and you are steady. And it's very, very uncomfortable. For a lot of people, that could lead to what we call spatial disorientation. Okay, you become spatially disoriented because of inadvertent flight from visual condition into instrument meteorological condition. And at that point, remember this helicopter crew, there's a lot of vibration. Their body physiologically is trying to adjust to the vibration. They are trying to weave their way out of these external conditions, which is not conducive for searching for a landing place. They are descending. That's a really high stress environment. Okay, and so for whatever reason, if potentially they became spatially disoriented, that could lead to what we call loss of situational awareness, which is trying to estimate what is happening around you. And then by not being able to estimate what is happening around you, it impairs your decision making, and that influences the projection, perceptual, the projection of your future states. Remember, the aircraft is not static, it is moving. You have to make decisions as to whether to turn left, right, to climb, to descend. And so it's stressful. They are trying to weave their way out of it. And then you have high grounds. Helicopter flying, poor visibility, extremely high grounds. If you don't have technology on board, like the terrain awareness warning system or enhanced ground proximity warning system, which use in onboard terrain database and satellite augmented data to alert the pilots as to high grounds within their vicinity, so that they can be aware and they can prevent the high areas. It is not implausible that you might get yourself in what we call control flight into terrain. And even in the United States, everywhere in the world, there are numerous accidents, especially related to helicopters and general aviation flying, where inadvertent flight from visual flight conditions or visual flight rules into instrument conditions have led to spatial disorientation, loss of control of the aircraft. Because you are disoriented, it impairs your decision making. And then unfortunately, if the alerting system is not there and the crew coordination, for whatever reason, operational pressure, trying to find a landing spot, that could lead to a CFIT. So these are some of the areas that investigators obviously are going to collect data from the flight data recorder, cockpit voice recorder, the physiological state even of the crew, things like fatigue. We are going to look at the mindset put yourself in the cockpit, in the mindset of the crew. Okay? The last 3 days, the last 1 week, what was the mental state of the crew? What was the level of organizational support? Because remember, we always say pilot error, pilot error. As investigators, modern day investigators, it's not just the proximal person, low-hanging fruit that we are dealing with. Whatever is happening to the crew and their performance and the outcome is a result of higher level factors. And so all the way to the top, what was the level of organizational influence, the level of support, the level of planning, decision making, risk analysis before the flight, during the flight, what sort of support were the crew getting, okay? The level of training, what we call currency with instrument flying, we will have to get into the records of the crew. We will have to look at even the medical records of the crew. I'm not saying that is what happened, but as investigators,
Of course, I get it. You want to cast your net as wide as possible. Yes. So speaking about that, yes, I appreciate your technical, the technical explanation you are providing. But when this happened, a lot of other people, ordinary people, also shared views which have gained quite some traction. They may not be rooted in the technical expertise you have. So what I want you to help us do is to help us appreciate some of them, cross them out, or tell us if it's a possibility. So for example, we hear that given the nature of the bodies we saw eventually, as in the way it was charred or bent, it was possible that the aircraft might have exploded mid-air. Given everything you've known about this and your experience, was that a possibility that the aircraft in question could have exploded mid-air?
Yes, as aircraft accident investigators, everything, it's because when we put on the hat, we clean out every bias. We consider everything, we put everything on the table. Okay. In fact, one of the first things based on eyewitness, when we interview eyewitness, we saw the aircraft, it exploded. Okay, that's fine. Show me the evidence. Because we want to even rule that out. It is very important that we rule that out. Normally, if it's a mid-air explosion, as is being purported by some eyewitnesses, as an investigator, the physical distribution of the wreckage itself will tell me that there was an explosive event. Okay? The way the wreckage is distributed, the crash, preliminary crash dynamics, even the capture points, will tell me that this was an in-flight explosive event. Normally, that is wide. You have a wide scattering of the debris, okay, because it was in-flight. Two, the good thing is that we have a cockpit voice recorder. We have a flight data recorder, which is recording essential flight parameters. Okay. One of the key telltale signs of an in-flight breakup is that even when we look at the wreckage distribution physically, we'll be able to see some of the breakup points. Okay, and in this case, if it was related hypothetically, maybe some are claiming explosive device. That is where forensic analysis comes in, and my good friend, the forensic analyst, probably will delve more into it, because if we are to take even parts of the wreckage, okay, even though most of them might have been deteriorated due to post-crash fire, we are looking at a trace element analysis of explosives. Okay, so that will be done. It's one of the first things that is done, because we want to rule out sabotage. If there was an explosive, breakup due to explosion, we want to confirm or throw that aspect out. If that analysis is done, and there are chemical residues suggesting that there was an explosion, explosive on board that sort of blew up the aircraft, the investigation becomes something else, because it becomes more of a criminal investigation in this case. So our forensics, CID, DNI, defense, military police, they will be actively involved. Also, the acoustic pattern, if there is also an explosive event, because we have a cockpit voice recorder, it captures all the sound within the periphery of the flight deck. And in this case, it's a helicopter, so it's even open sort of between the cockpit and where the passengers are. It will capture all the sound signatures within the cockpit. It will capture the communication between the crew, the vibration, the subtle movement, sounds. It will capture any alerts. And if there was an explosive event, the telltale sign, the acoustic signature, it will be captured in the CVR. And the immediacy of the truncation of signals from all the parameters to the flight data recorder will be seen when we extrapolate the data and we compare the normal acoustic signature of a Z9 helicopter that is flying similar profile to that of one that is purported to have had an explosive event. You will see from the signals or the signature that we have maybe some spikes, or we have an unusual event at this particular timestamp. And so we asked the eyewitnesses, okay, what time did you think you saw the helicopter explode? Oh, it was at this timestamp. we go to the flight data recorder, we go to the cockpit voice recorder. It should be corroborated by the factual data on the CVR and the FDR. And so I always tell people that eyewitnesses' accounts are great for investigators. But remember, always, it's not always trustworthy. So we want logical consistency, and we want to make sure that it is backed by secondary.
Talking about logical consistency, there are people who have said that if indeed it exploded mid-air, would have seen the smoke coming out from the forest into the sky. But I don't think we've seen anything like that, at least speaking from the media point of view. I'm not sure we saw any videos of that nature, of smoke coming out of the forest into the skies. We've not seen anything like that. So I think that's fine. The other point people have made is that because it was a hilly area or a mountainous area, a range, it might have hit a tree. Is that also plausible? Is that a possibility, given everything we know about this so far, that the aircraft might have hit a tree on the mountain or something?
Great, thank you. I would like to explain to the audience as an aircraft accident investigator. I told you that initially, when we get to the site, normally the site is supposed to be secured. One of the first things we are looking up, we're looking for is what we call the preliminary capture marks. Okay, in this case, it's a helicopter, and so most of the time you see the first cuts. If it was a tree, it hits a tree. Normally, you see the first cuts on a big tree. Okay, or we look within the periphery, we are able to, because we know how the main rotors, the dimensions, and we will look at the tree, even though some of them might be consumed by post-crash fires, it is telltale. You see the angle at which maybe the blades might have contacted tree. And these are the things that, on the field examination, we are trying to take pictures, we are trying to identify and to be able to note the exact location of some of these capture marks. Remember, like I said, helicopters nominally, if you even look at the flight profile, obviously they were what? It's claimed that they were about 12 or 30 miles to their purported landing field, or where they were supposed to land. So if you look at even the geographic terrain, and if you look at the visual, the VMC map that's available, obviously they were in the descent phase.
Yes.
They were not 4,000, they were descending.
Yes.
And so if you are descending, and like I said, there's inadvertent flight from VFR into instrument meteorological condition, and the crew at that point were trying to extricate themselves from that situation, because you don't want to be in instrument condition when visually you have to acquire the ground where you're going to land. In that case, that maneuvering, sometimes without the help of things like the enhanced ground proximity warning systems and the high stress environment, potentially with spatial disorientation that is taking place, there is a likelihood, because remember these high lands that are there, the crew as part of their flight plan would have known that, hey, these hills are there. The problem is that some of these trees can go as high as 80 foot, some of them 100 foot above the mountain. And so if you are looking at just the quadrantal or minimum safety altitude, or the quadrantal altitude, which gives normally a clearance slightly above the height above terrain, sometimes it doesn't account for such trees. And so the pilot might think that, hey, I'm safe because I'm just skirting the periphery of the mountain. And, inadvertently, some of these tall trees might, you might get caught in it. And remember, once the main rotors make contact with the tree, the energy, the high kinetic energy, they might break off, they might lead to imbalance of the rotation of the rotors, and they'll lose control. And once you lose control, at that point, it's, straight all down, because you have no control of the aircraft, because you've contacted tree. Once again, the field data, the flight data recorder, the cockpit voice recorder, all these other data points that I've talked about will be sort of triangulated. And if such a thing happened, there are visible or visual evidence on the crash site to suggest that there was a contact with various trees even before impacting terrain. We will identify those, and that will help us to build the causal and contributory factors.
Very well. So I'll get back to you. I have a few more that I want you to clarify because there's been a lot said, but I'll come back to you. But let me make a quick announcement. Some news getting to us is that there's been an accident on the Koforidua-Amanfi Road where a truck has fallen on some vehicles, leaving people trapped. The scene is just a few meters after the Methodist Girls Senior High School, which is known as the Amanfi Girls. We are appealing to the police service, fire service, and all security agencies to get to the scene to assist and rescue victims. Again, there's been some accident on the Koforidua-Amanfi Road where a truck has fallen on some vehicles, leaving people trapped. The scene is just a few meters from the Amanfi Girls, Methodist Girls Senior High School, and we are appealing to the police service, fire service, and all other security agencies to get to the scene to assist victims. Now, let me speak to Lawrence Kofi Champon, who is forensic medical scientist and security intelligence researcher. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program. Now, I mean, Prof is spoken quite a bit about the technicalities, etc. You know, we've spoken about the contamination of the crash site, the fact that there were people who were not supposed to be there, the town people who, though were helping, might have been contaminating the site. Now, if we want to do forensic investigation, talk to us about how much of contamination might have occurred and how that would hamper in the forensic investigations in this respect.
Thank you very much. And I would like to say a very good morning to your distinguished listeners. And I would like to say that the explanation with respect to forensics is not prejudicial to any investigation that is going to happen. However, this is just to look at the specifics and to speak to the issues as it has happened. And with the question, I would say that yes, when it comes to forensics, we really hold the scene of the disaster in high esteem, because in any forensic endeavor, the most important element in it is the disaster scene, and the scene helps us to deconstruct and reconstruct what happened actually. So when it happens like that, and we have a lot of people who get into the scene, there is one of the most important principles in forensics that is actually breached, which is the principle of contamination. And you must see that there are other principles, even the principle of continuity is also broken. And the principle of contamination actually states that in situations of disasters or crime, and you want to do any investigation, you need to protect the sanctity of the scene. And the first principle when it comes to the scene methodology is safety of the people who are even going there. That's the first principle. And when it comes to the method we use to investigate any scene, why? Because you can never save people, which is SAVE, when you yourself, you are not SAFE, safe. So that is one of the most important principles when it comes to forensics. And the second most important thing is to protect the scene. And in this case, the scene needs to be cordoned and it has to be protected. And I must say that in situations of disasters, the scene are normally chaotic. And I must say when it comes to the responders, because there are international standards when it comes to disaster scene investigation with respect to forensics. So you can name the Interpol standards and the guidelines, the American organization standards, the ICRC standards, and other literatures that are on it. The scene is the most important, and there are responders. So looking at the Z9 crash, the first responder would have been, if we had a survivor amongst them, he would have been the first person to help to protect the other people who might have been survivors as well. But in this case, we survivors. So the next responders, definitely in any disaster scene, will be the community. So, in fact, the presence of the community is admirable. The only situation we are having problem with is that there should have been some level of coordination, and this brings to bear our disaster awareness education that is on the ground, and that could have really helped the senior leaders in the community could have, with the farmers that right there, they could have coordinated to make sure that at least if they were survivors, they would have gone for them first before we look at any other thing. So if I'm looking at the contamination and the principles with forensics, there is the possibility of direct contamination and cross-contamination as well.
So, what would forensic scientists like yourself be looking for or out for if you were commissioned or if you were asked to go on a field like that to investigate this disaster? What are the things you'll be looking for? What leads would you be looking for to do what?
Okay, sure. When it comes to forensic, we say that it's scientific and it follows scientific methodology. And forensic is a multidisciplinary field where it encompasses a lot of aspects. And I must say that in this example, first of all, in any forensic endeavor, what you need to look at is first, you need to look at the environment in question, which is the scene. So when we talk about the scene, we are talking about what is in the scene. So normally, as I said earlier, the most important thing in forensic investigation is the scene. And it can either be a disaster scene or any other scene, because until proven otherwise, we cannot say it is a crime. So we are talking about the scene. And what is important in the scene is the evidence. And forensics deals with the circumstantial evidence, which deals with the physical and the biological evidences. And the physical evidences transcends so many fields when we are talking about trace evidences. In this case, where we have a crash, where you cannot really go and just see visible evidences. But however, there is a principle from the father of modern forensics, who is called LOCAT, which is a LOCAT exchange principle. No matter anything that happens, so far as there is contact, there is a trace, okay? And this trace can either be visible or invincible, but it takes somebody who is trained in forensics, who is having the eye to really identify what he has to go for, who will be able to use certain chemicals, who will be able to use certain principles to uncover some of the evidences that are not seen. So in this respect, looking at it, you can see that we have a scene in our hand. However, before you get to the scene, what happened before the thing happened in that particular location? So forensic helps to reconstruct the scene upon going through the various aspects and the principles in examination in the scene. So when we get there, it will be a multifaceted approach. And Prof, looking at this is more of an aviation tragedy. So you cannot take the aviation investigative aspect out of it. And they will look at even before the flight left wherever it started from. They will look at the conditions, they will look at the psychology, they will look at the state of the flight. The flight was on ground. What was on the ground? Because it was on a surface before it was lifted into another activity, okay, or another space, and the space was the air. So in the air, there are aviation aspects, there are meteorological aspects that will also be investigating how things can go wrong for some of these things to happen. Aside that, when it happened, we will go and look at the trace evidences, and there were human factor in it, okay? But before it happened, the whole helicopter was manufactured by an engineer. So there has to be the aspect of the forensic engineer also understanding the basic aspect of what actually went wrong to might have occurred or for this tragedy to occur. So all these aspects will also come in. And when it happened, okay, it was carrying human beings, okay? So now, what is the human factor in it? Were there voices? So the black box becomes so very important, which the aviation experts can also decode and get us the sound. And the sound analysis is also very, very important. In forensic linguistics, you need to really understand who was speaking. Was it only the 8 people in the flight that were talking? You need to understand the basics when it comes to understanding voice recording. It's also very important, and it's a very classic area when it comes to forensic linguistic analysis, and language analysis is so important. Then after that, we look at the human factor. So the human beings that were charged and they were there, they were burned. How do we do what we call disaster victim identification? And in this case, we employ what we call disaster forensics. That goes beyond just using only DNA, but we go through the rudiments to identify whether truly those charred bodies there were the people we suspected to be there. Then after that, there is the aspect of the psychology in terms of the psychology of the people who were even within the plane. It has to be analyzed, and the one who was even flying the plane, as Prof said. So it is a multifaceted area. Even some aspect of forensic, digital, and cybersecurity also comes in, because the flight was operating using, some technological advancements, which the digital forensic expert comes in. Even some were saying there were calls made from the flight. So digital forensic expert can also decode mobile phone forensics and know who actually and what was actually communicated before this tragedy. So this is the multidisciplinary approach when it comes to forensics, and we deal with it accordingly. And it's a robust system that we need to really take charge of.
Great, very comprehensive there. This is the big issue on 97.3 City FM. We're also, of course, live on Channel 1 television, on our socials, YouTube as well. The conversation is live and interactive. You can join us via the WhatsApp line 0204447033 or 0549986996. We are looking back at the burial service, the circumstances or the lead up to the service itself, what we can learn from it, etc. We are mixing it with what the investigation should look like, what should be the takeaways, etc. That is the discussion we are having. But I want to take you back to the burial service yesterday, and so we take a look at some of the tributes that the spouses or the wives or now the widows of the fallen 8 rendered to their late husbands. They include the 3 wives of the 3 servicemen and a few others. Let's take a watch.
This year, on my birthday, you wrote, "Happy birthday, my love. You are not only my wife, but also my best friend, the greatest blessing in my life. I thank God every day for you, and I look forward to creating more beautiful memories together. Enjoy your day. I love you deeply." I was holding on those words with so much joy, eagerly counting down the days until I'll see you again in Atlanta, Georgia on the 18th. I was waiting to be in your arms, to laugh with you, to celebrate my birthday by your side like we had planned. Why then? Why am I in Ghana mourning you instead? On that final morning, just hours before your crash, your last words to me were, "Take care, babe. I love you." Those words will forever echo in my heart, not just as your goodbye, but as your eternal vow to me.
Who will respond just when I say cassette gist? Who will make my life comfortable now? Manine, please respond and answer me. This silence is too loud. I keep checking my phone for a message, or a picture, or a call. I have been checking since Wednesday. What do I do now? Everything feels surreal. And sometimes I expect you to walk in with that beautiful smile of yours.
The Z9 helicopter was like your first child, and in every conversation you would find a way to bring it up. You would spend long nights reading and researching on how to care for it. Amusingly, I suggested we get married on your birthday, 5th July, so you would never forget our anniversary. But life had other plans. Now I am the one who would never forget that day. Dada Kobe. What would I do with all these memories that lay so fresh in my heart and mind? Though we were married for just a month, the few years of knowing you were undoubtedly the best moments of my life.
Children of the deceased persons had their last words to say.
Time was fast approaching for us to keep you away from work and make you stay home. And reflect upon the youthful moments we fed you. Yeah, Daddy. You are running away from us into eternity. Daddy, why? You never rested this day. You set an available standard for the Sapon family. Your footprint shall forever remain a pointer along which the family always walks with administration.
Today, we feel the deep pain of losing you, but also we feel the pride of being your children. Your life was a light that guided us. Your love will continue to warm our hearts, and your legacy will forever inspire our paths. We miss you, Daddy, but we promise to live in a way that honors your memory.
Daddy, why did you have to leave us so soon? Never in a million years could we have imagined you'd leave us. You lived your life like a race, always trying to do more, love more, and share more. We really thought you'd live forever because your light was so bright it could never go out. Omani, why have you done this to us? We absolutely cannot believe we will never see you again, never hold your hand, never sit with you at night and talk, never laugh with you, never see the many stickers you would always used to send us.
Very sad scenes there. So you heard and saw tributes from the spouses and some of the children of the fallen eight. Watching this brings a lot of things, compensation, etc. Of course, we know about a fund being set up for the children, etc. But I think Honorable raised a point about workmen compensation. You have worked at the National Labour Commission for a while, and I'm sure you've dealt with claims like this before. People getting hurt or dying in their line of work and what the employers must do for them, etc. Two of them were ministers, 3 servicemen, 2 appointees, and 1 a party official. Take us through what really the expectation will be ordinarily if such a matter is to come up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was happy when my colleague raised the issue of workmen compensation or whatever, any of them who have died or may have suffered any injury under the circumstance is entitled to. One thing I know for a fact is that the military aircraft, unlike, like other state vehicles, are not insured with our insurance companies, most of them, and that is the state that takes care of as if they were insured by the state. In the case of the military officers, they have their own service regulations, and that if you die in such circumstances, how they take care of you. The question now will comes up is to deal with the Samuel Abuaji, who happens to be the deputy director of the
Director General of NADMO.
Director General of NADMO. So he is an employee, but the question then, of course, that will be determined by the chief labor officer, whether his death was as a result of working within the prescribed establishment or what he has to do, right? So
whether it was on a frolic of his own,
whether
or
it was on a frolic
really
of his own,
NADMO work related.
It was really NADMO work related, and he was mandated to do that at that point in time. With the ministers well, they are with the government. We know that the Minister of Defense, they were going on the national. But what is challenging is the position of Mr. Sapon, Dr. Sapon.
The vice chair.
The vice chair. You know, the vice chair is not a government official, he's a party official. So was he on a national assignment sanctioned by who? Mandated to do what? And at the time? Or he just had the opportunity to jump onto the aircraft because he's a national, they say, and the inauguration or whatever they were going to do, what Abuase was to do with party members and so on. So that is where the controversy will come in. You know,
so if he was instructed or asked by the authority or authorized to attend, what would that mean?
If the person had the opportunity to authorize that travel or his boarding of the aircraft at the same time, if it was properly sanctioned, yes. If you are, I mean, if the minister was traveling, he thought it was his friend, right?
So the minister asked, okay, I think you know ABC. You've been in the Ashanti region. You've been head of security in Ashanti before. I think I'll need you to follow me on this. No, I mean, Samuel Sapon did some national security thing before in Ashanti, proud to becoming
he was a
KMA
mayor,
boss,
was it right?
KMA boss, etc. He was KMA boss and became Ashanti regional minister, regional security council, all of that. So I need you to follow me on this trip. Would that suffice?
Let's clarify this.
Yeah.
All we know is that that trip was authorized.
Yes.
And given the circumstance where this performance or traditional performance and this morning programs and all those people on board were an official business authorized. So whatever it is, they will all be covered by whatever law that goes for compensation.
The law is there and they are specific. You cannot say that you put yes, they were buried together, but what will be applicable to the serving officers is not applicable to that of the ministers. Except that they were together to perform on
the serving officers have a specific
condition. They have a specific laws that regulate with their compensation the services. As a minister of state, there may be something, we have these committees that we set under Article 71. If you are going on retirement, if you die, they are covered by Article 71, right? But that's why and I come down to Abuaji, who is an employee of NADMO, right? So if what he was going to do was mandated, it was within his service.
That's
but the only thing that your Director General, the one person who is a controversial is Dr. Sapon. Dr. Sapon was not a minister of state. He is not a serving officer with the armed forces. He is not an employee of NADMO or any identifiable government institution for now, except that he is a party chairman. Yes, we have had in my party sometimes the president is traveling and you have party members and others joining. By virtue of that, they are party officials and they have that. But the question will be, in the circumstances, who takes care of, whatever that injury or this and that may have suffered. So as for him, this is a bit controversial. But for the rest of them, I'm sure that will be taken care of. It's like if you are on a vehicle, commercial vehicle, and you are not a fare paying passenger, you don't pay fare. You will not be covered by insurance. Like OA bus has loaded from Accra to Kumasi, right? Or you are the driver's son or daughter, or you are a relative, and he says, "Oh, come, don't pay." You understand? And you don't pay and you sit on it. It's a commercial vehicle. There's an accident and people die. The insurance will cover those who paid fare. It's a commercial vehicle.
So they first have to establish
that
these persons paid fare. Yes. Without that establishment, everybody else will
only fare paying passengers on the commercial vehicle who are entitled to. Assuming you are the Aplanke, the meat, and you are on a commercial vehicle. Do you know you are not covered by insurance?
No, but Aplanke, you are part of the crew.
What?
You are part of the crew.
Are you a fare paying passenger?
No, but you are part of the crew. You work with the driver.
No.
So if the driver is covered, you should be covered too because
the driver is not covered. The driver is operating the vehicle. The insurance will cover the fare paying passengers.
If it is comprehensive.
If it's not comprehensive.
Not even comprehensive?
No, that is, you see, when
for
the
vehicle
is comprehensively insured and there's an accident, the comprehension covers the vehicle.
The vehicle, not
and
not
the those in it that are injured, the passengers come under the third party policy. right? Yes. So
And
these
the
are some of the gray areas that we have to look at.
The driver
so
is
if you are a party official, or you are the president's son, or you are related to a high-profile person, and the plane is going, Mekobi, you jump onto it, and there's an injury or death. You should know where you belong to.
Yes, in moving the discussion forward, yes.
And I did mention that so long as that trip was authorized and it's official, there are systems and structures wherever one finds himself to be covered.
The president has authorized that
not necessarily the president authorizing, the minister.
Whoever, the minister,
Yes.
I'm even using the president because he's the highest.
Yeah.
A trip may be authorized. But at the time of giving the authority, the circumstances, are you covered?
No, I think we'll have to establish that's an important point. We'll have to establish that. But in moving the
situation, I don't think that's an issue because whatever it is,
that we can just find money and deal with it.
Not necessarily so, because the Constitution and all rules and regulations have channels or have provisions of some of these things. If a trip is authorized and one is deliberately requested to go onto an errand, it is authorized. So you go into the details of the organization. What stands in there for such circumstance? So workman compensation you're talking about, the doctor will have to do the computation. So how much is it? And so
who will pay? I'm looking at who
exactly.
will pay.
So the organization will have to make room for the payment.
Which
this
organization?
Was a military aircraft.
Yeah. So which organization?
So who will
Sorry.
pay? Is it the armed forces?
No. The issue is that the official function. What is the official function? What were they going to do?
The man is not an official. So what official function was he?
I'm talking about they were going to
the party chairman.
They were going to Obuasi for an official.
To attend
assignment.
The inauguration of
that is official assignment. So long as it is authorized.
Was he going to
somebody them? No, please.
Yeah, so to launch the program. Responsible
mining.
I'm saying that was he going to launch it or he was attending?
The most important thing.
Maybe he had a role in there. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
No, but it's a high-profile person, a vice chairman of a party, who has been delegated, requested, authorized to go for a function. But when the decision
I'm listening to the interview of General Seydou Ketia. He said, I was supposed to be on the flight, I should have attended the function. But I couldn't attend. So I told this thing to go.
Yes.
Right. Did he have the power to authorize?
No,
why not?
Don't worry.
If he was asked.
If I'm supposed to go somewhere. And I don't go. But the question is whether I had the capacity at the time to put another person.
He has.
Perhaps, these are quite okay.
We don't have the answers.
So his family
maybe he would have contacted whoever asked him to attend.
I'm giving the answer that his boss, the chairman of the party, has delegated him.
No, but the boss of the party is not a state official. He may sit in cabinet, but he's not. Which organization?
But he's the chairman.
But NDC is not the government. NDC forms the government.
NDC is the party. No, I'm coming here. The issue is that
is a party in government.
The issue is compensation. Where is coming from? What is from a private organization, whatever? You know, I talk about workman compensation. Private organizations also have that provision.
Oh yes,
exactly. So
the workman compensation will come from the NDC. Is that what you're saying?
Any payment that will have to go through will be determined which area it has to go. This person has been authorized, delegated to go for an official function. When
the NDC will pay it.
When it comes to the situation there, whether NDC pays, whether NDC pays or government pays or a service whatever pays, when it comes to the crunch, it will be resolved.
Very well. Once somebody will deal with it. Let's move the discussion. The country is seeing some unity over this period. We only hope that it continues that way. But the question is, what are we doing with the unity right now, the emotions we have as a country? Are we going to ride on the current of this unity and emotions to have some real policy shift and real, hard decisions made, especially in respect of Galamsey? Let me come to you, Honorable.
Thank you so very much. I think the unity is there, except that this was the time that it was activated. The Ghanaian sense of unity and, sympathy was really, really in display during this situation. And the president gave the directions and he gave leadership. And so this is the right opportunity, exactly so that the president, is talking about the need to kill, the need to control, the need to ensure that Galamsey is brought to a reasonable control is this. So that impetus, that motivation is there now, that we don't need to stop because it seems that there is that unity now. These are, Ghanaians and able, smart people who were going for this official function, get what I'm saying, or to small-scale mining, whatever it is. And so that unity must motivate us to move on. This government, in resetting agenda, in resetting Ghana, has all those areas in the system. The mining area, the education sector, the economy, all over. And so now, the focus is on cooperative mining, and that is why you have to support it. Nationally, everyone will have to get this supported for it to be successful. So yes, if the motivation, it's going to be an appeal that given the unity that we have, the current state of our unity, in that surrounded the mourning situation, that surrounded the tragic situation, and as a people, we still have to be reminded that this fellow, these friends, these Ghanaians, they lost their lives on duty because on this issue relating to small-scale cooperative mining. And so the motivation is there to move on with our policy and get it done, and done properly.
I see. Mr. Officer, what do we make with, or what do we do with the seeming unity we have seen and the outpouring of grief and emotions the country is feeling? At this time, people want things done hard and once and for all. Is this the time to do so, or we must step back and think through it properly? What should we be doing with this unity and emotions we've seen?
The good thing about history, right, as a subject, is that we learn from history, events that have happened, right? But we do not allow it to repeat itself, right? So now we are united. Why are we united? We are united in grief because we have lost such important personalities and our own people. Under what circumstance? A plane crash, resulting from what? The degradation of our environment due to galamsey over the period. Very disturbing factor. We are losing our vegetation, we are losing our farms, our food, our water is being poisoned, even food, the use of chemicals and all the disease. So what are we doing? What have we done in the past? And what could we have done to avert this? Over the period, you see, this galamsey issue, the approach to the galamsey issue, as I see it, if we want to be successful, it should be devoid of politics.
But can it ever be devoid of politics?
Yes.
Because you politicians say it's politicians who are in it.
Yes.
And so if one side of the political divide is seen sacking its people, that side will not keep quiet. That side will be finger pointing.
We need leadership. Good and committed leadership to the cause, right, he proposes. We want to fight galamsey. We set up committees. We put the military out there. We put the, what do you call it, all the people, vanguard, and vanguard and so on. This vanguard goes round. Excavators are seized, right, at mine sites. They are put at police stations or wherever we want to keep them. Before we are aware, the excavators have gone back. They are lost. And nobody is punished. Nobody is punished.
It means that there's complicity or involvement even
so
from the
that,
highest
yes,
places
nobody
of power.
is punished. Sometimes I ask myself, these operations that they went around, seizing excavators, they went there, they seized arms, they seized, how much gold did they seize? Where are they? Who accounted? Are you telling me that for all the years that, and the Chinese running away, nobody left gold at the time? The monies that they have been using to buy fuel and some of the gold from the small, nobody, how many of them were accounted for? And who is asking questions? They just go and bring some 2-3 excavators as if, you see, the whole thing is cosmetic. I come from an area where it goes on, right? Just after the elections, when change from MPP to NDC, do you know Buedria going to Akwetia, right, on the Moore River, right in town, mining was going on. Why? Government has changed. So this time, the ND say, hey, it is now time we can mine. And surprisingly, one day I was driving. I saw a military car parked there. This Nizam hard body. These soldiers were there, and mining was going on. I stopped to ask whether the chief was in town. And the chief was in town. You don't need to go. No. You don't need to go. Yeah, the chief was in town.
That the chief should stop them? Or it shouldn't be happening?
If you are the chief, do you know that Safu group, if the chief should call that Safu?
But we heard that some of the chiefs are also complices. We will see
the police were there.
Some of them.
The district chief executives, all of them were there. And you see, it's not in the bush. This one, if you have been sitting in Trotro.
Maybe this was just after elections, and normally around those times there's some lacuna.
My brother, I come from there. I go there. Yes, it was happening in the eastern region around my area. We have this what the Ochimai environmental and that Ochi. Yes. They are all over. Where were they? Mining is going on. You go to this. And you see, I used to chair the Lands and Forestry Committee when I was in Parliament. In one of our rounds, we went into the forest around Ofinso. My brother, it took us hours to get there, and it was a whole established village for mining. These big generators, about 5 excavators, and you ask yourself, how did they get there? Where were the forest gas and that forestry? Where were the police, all the several barriers from Accra to this thing, where they have been turned into money collection points? Where were the police? Is the district chief executive and the chief of the villages there not seeing the excavators move into the forest? You see, we have to come together as a people. Sometimes when the police go there and they want to arrest these galamseyers, even the people in the town and the boys, the chiefs, all of them are collecting money. Chiefs, go to my place. When you go to along the Brim River, between Abodom, Chinso, and Krobo area, right? Go there. People are working there. I mean, sometimes there's a bridge on the river around Chinso. Standing at the chief's palace, you can see mining going on, this champagne. And if you are driving, they are just on the river. Are you telling me that the assembly members, the MPs, all of them, once I met one of these military patrols, and I asked them that them people are doing this work. I was driving, I've seen them on the river. He says, yes, so even if you take them, they will still come back again. So even the military who have been deployed have given up. Because, like I said, we are not showing leadership. We put them there. Go and do this. They go arrest the excavators. We leave it to go. The people who are arrested, nothing happens. So all of us, the leaders must show leadership. And the people must show commitment, right? By coming out with Operation Vanguard, Operation Galam Stop, or giving them all the names and this thing, will not stop it.
So you see, the point is that you are talking about leadership. It is not Operation Vanguard, Operation whatever. What went on in Obuasi that our colleagues lost their life were to support a scheme.
But Honorable,
so the issue that you asked the question,
yes,
that momentum, that unity, that came up during all this period, can we sustain it for the fight against Gambia? And I'm saying yes. Because
but you see, the criticism against your government really is that you are not, you've not been very forthright and very hard on the menace like you promised. So, for example, the repeal of the LI. I mean, people don't even know why that LI is still in operation. We've been promised that it will be repealed. We don't even understand why.
The state of
emergency that you champion in opposition. Nothing is being said. So people expected, or people actually expect, that we should see more, not the launching of responsible cooperative mining.
6 or 7 months.
Yeah, but some good things have been done, or some hard things have been done.
Yes, because you see, there are laws that can be implemented. There are others too that have been repealed. And there are processes. You just cannot just, with all due respect, just change everything overnight. But the hope is that steps are being taken, demonstrating the preparedness and the will to get this thing done. And so one of the ways that we're talking about is the cooperative in mining that we are talking about. So you see all these guys, I'm saying, doing all these illegal activities. When you bring them together, you bring them to as cooperative and legalize that. Give them the equipment, give them what it takes to get the Galamsey dam properly, not in the rivers. So the program is to resolve this matter
Very
of illegal
well.
mining.
Richard
how
Kumado,
different is this
from the community mining.
From the community mining.
We'll get to that.
Sorry,
Richard, just be thinking about it and you answer us. Richard Kumado, who is a security analysis consultant, has joined us on the discussion. Before that, let me take a few of the messages that have come through to us on the WhatsApp numbers displayed on your screen, 0204447033. This one says, "Dear host, I think Ghana has been thrown into a state of grief and mourning by losing 8 gallant and prominent comrades in the freak air accident on the 6th of August. Though the president has ordered these investigations into the tragic loss of 8 people, we have had a myriad of other such investigations that remain on the shelf that have gathered dust without action. I pray the good Lord grants the president, the government, and the bereaved families the strength for to shoulder the tragic loss of their loved ones. I urge the president to leave no stone unturned to fight the Galamsey menace with full vigor. Good morning, dear Charles Achampo, Sefi Humjibre in the Western North region." This one from Mashoud Ibrahim Bishela in Kanda, Accra says, "I salute you all at Channel 1 TV and City FM. Good morning to fellow Ghanaians. I still feel the pains and worried about the unfortunate demise of the fallen 8 heroes who left us on August 6th. My deepest condolences to John Mahama, the President, Vice President, all family members of the gallant 8 and hardworking men, and to the great NDC. I pray to the Almighty Allah to keep them, to grant them the right place in Jannatul Fedwa's heaven. May Allah take care of their wives and children." This is Mashoud Ibrahim Bishela. Kofi Nakra says, "May God help the families of the dead." And Charles K. in Dansuman says, "The death of the 8 is so painful. We must be serious as people." Richard, come out. I mean, so we saw the event yesterday. We saw all of that. My guests, Prof. and Lawrence, have spoken about the investigation and all of that we need to be looking out for. But the issue about Galamsey, indeed, a national security threat, we began seeing the difficulties with that, threat to water, threat to environment, etc. Now, it is taking lives of very key people. We saw Major Mahama in 2017 also killed in that manner by town people. They were deployed there by the military or by the state to go fight Galamsey. He died in a very, bad manner. We said never again we'll fight it. Galamsey, we've not been able to fight it. Now, 2 cabinet ministers, 2 former ministers, other appointees, and 3 military officers have also found themselves in this situation. Very, very tragic incident. What else can we do to deal with this Galamsey problem from a security point of view? How should we fight it that we are not fighting that is making the canker linger?
It's a simple matter. When you take the issue of Galamsey, there's a political interest, there's a business interest, there's a national security safety interest, and there's a due diligence interest. If you take away the 3 interests and you leave the national security interest, you'll be able to deal with it as quickly as possible. But the political interest is what is driving this whole issue about Galamsey and the ineffectiveness at which we are looking at it. I don't think we are really structured in fighting to win the war against the Galamseyers. My last conversation with Muntala was that they have been able to retrieve some forests which were in the hands of Galamseyers. And we spoke about security risk assessment and some of the things that can be added on. If we have a structure that helps us to retrieve the forest which was predominantly occupied by Galamseyers, and we have pursued in that direction, then it would have helped us largely in many of the areas where we have Galamsey going on. But it's backed by a political interest. And the politician wouldn't want people to leave the Galamsey sites because that is where they make money from. And so it's not like it's a national threat that we cannot curtail it. We have a full-fledged army. We have a full-fledged BNI. We have a full-fledged police with very serious, well-trained departments and units. If you take away political interest, we will be able to deal with it as quickly as possible. But guess what? trying to curtail Galamsey, which has been there for a very long time, without doing something about it, you are going to get some of the tragedies we are talking about.
So, I mean, we also hear that the Galamseyers themselves are becoming very armed. We used to connect this to the political interests rather than the other interests, business interests or private individuals sponsoring these people, arming them now so they're able to fight the military and fight the police and fight all persons who want to stop them.
Definitely, individuals who do not have political connections and they have no political associations, we will not dare to even get into Galamsey in the first place, or they will not even dare to arm these people in the first place. So some of these arms were smuggled to the Galamseyers, and these are Galamseyers that you cannot touch. But with my 29 years in this field, my understanding is that non-punishable offenses will rationalize bad behavior and promote antisocial tendencies in society. And this is what you have seen by and large when it comes to the motivation of the state to deal with people who flout our laws. And Galamsey is one of those ones.
I see. So we've also been talking generally about the investigations. But even before that, given that the military has lost key personnel, Major Mahama, as I mentioned earlier, and now 3 others, what should be the attitude of the military towards the fight against Galamsey when they are sent? Of course, they are always under command. If they are told to retreat, they have to retreat. But if they go to the field, what should be running through their minds? How should they approach the fight?
You see, you are creating psychological issues for the military in particular, who are the frontliners for these Galamsey operations. We are trained as soldiers. We are trained as intelligence officers. We are trained to deal with threats against the state. Politics and political actors and political interests can destabilize the state. And I lead a team called Democracy and Governance Risks. And we can tell you on point blank that actions of politicians and political actors have destabilized many communities and many states across the globe. And so we as law enforcement officers, we see civilians and we see politicians to be people who are trying to pay hide and seek. If you leave this whole operation in the hands of the military in particular, they would have dealt with it in no time. You create a psychological problem for them when you ask them to go to the field and you are the same people holding their hands. And remember, the military is a government agency. And by and large, they take some specific instructions from the military, from the civilians, who are the politicians. And that is where the issue is. Majority of these issues we are fighting and we are talking about has to do with instructions that are coming from politicians, and the military has to obey against their will and against their conscience. Because in every democracy, and in most democracies across the globe, if you want real development, then political governance and security governance must always be at par. If you swing the pendulum in such a way that there's imbalance and you do not work seriously to correct that imbalance, you are going to have difficulties. And we as trained officers, particularly the military, there are instances where they will pretend to be working and they will not do the work, and they will let you die as a civilian, and they will write the report and put it on the archives. When you take the particular chopper crash you are talking about, it is a known fact that politicians have realized that the Air Force provides transportation services to VIP and VVIPs. And for about 3 to 4 years now, I raised the alarm that considering the nature and the type and the limited number of choppers we have in this country, and the unlimited services they provide in that area, we are likely to have some issues. Nobody took it seriously. So that is where we are as a nation, and we need to wake up to our responsibilities and do the various serious things we needed to do and to build up this democracy and to enhance our governance structure. Other than that, we are creating too many problems for ourselves, and we pretend to be solving it when we all know that we are not actually not doing anything about it.
Now, I mean, the soldiers, honoring them posthumously, promoting them, etc. What does it mean to the psyche of the military officer who is being deployed into an area that is dangerous? Honoring him posthumously.
We are trained to deal with threats and security emergencies in hostile environment. And so as a law enforcement officer, or as somebody like me who have worked in the BNI for many years, and I'm a senior when it comes to security intelligence across the group, there are things we are taught to deal with. Hostile environment, hostile personalities, and emergencies. And you can be entrapped in many of these things. Now, we learn how to escape many of these things. But when you are dealing with a national crisis, and you have a politician taking a decision, any wrong statement or any wrong instruction can create consequences and has consequential effects on both the psychic of the military. When it comes to promotions of our fallen heroes, it's a normal thing. We are happy, and Selon, you'll be surprised to know that we have signed what we call the non-existent. So death is what we have signed for. So the only thing that brings glory to us, to our families, and to meet us again when we meet in heaven, is when you give us the Ghana flag. So when you put a flag on our coffin, that gives us joy even more than the promotion, because we know the promotion will come automatically, and it doesn't really mean anything to us. Because the day we sign and we say we want to defend the integrity of the state and to ensure that national sovereignty is preserved and the guarantees are achieved, death is what we sign for. Richard Komado, many times guns were put into my head, and why they didn't kill me, I don't know. I have slept in Awodome Cemetery for a number of years and months. I have been at some of the obscure places across the globe, all in the interest of preserving the security and safety of your nation, or to some other places. And so that is what they signed for. And I think the way we honor them, right from when the bodies got to Kumasi, how they were all lifted to Accra, the processes for the funeral, and up to where we are as of yesterday, I was happy that we gave them what is due them: respect, honor, and decency. And that alone is enough. And we will meet them again when we get to heaven.
Very well. I'll take a short break. When I come back, I'll go to Prof to help us deal with some of the other issues he was dealing with, some of the misconceptions and what might have gone wrong, etc. And then we'll also talk to Lawrence Champon, who is a forensic medical scientist and security intelligence researcher, to also have his thoughts on a few of them. Of course, my studio guests will also have a few things to say about those before we delve into some other areas. This is a big issue, 97.3 City FM. Don't go away.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go! Lights, camera, action. Put your mind on it, live the life that you
It's on SuperSport all season long. Pay your subscription today. Dial *759#. Available on DSTV and GoTV.
In Ghana, West Africa, the mornings are somewhat, if not for the perfect companion. What a good day to start. Another day. It's always smiles knowing we are together. Ooh, what a feeling. Work is always effective with NASCO home appliances. If it not be you, then who go there? No wahala. If the sun is up, we there for your appetite. Never a dull moment to gulp something chill. Any jepa, I want NASCO fear. NASCO, bring home happiness.
In a world filled with challenges, we all need guidance, hope, and a lifeline to anchor us.
This is Lifeline, and I'm your host, Fred Crunchy Mensa.
From social issues, relationship challenges, and family matters, Lifeline is here to inspire, uplift, and guide you on your journey.
Where we give you support, where we hold your hand through the valley and through the thick and thins of life.
Join Bishop Fred Crunchy Mensa.
I welcome you especially to Lifeline.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on Channel 1 TV. Let's walk this path together, strengthen our faith, our families, and our lives. Lifeline, because every soul deserves a guiding light. Tune in to Lifeline on Channel 1 TV and let's grow together.
All right, welcome back. This is the big issue. Alive on 97.3 CTFM. Just having a quick chat in the studio. Yes. So let me give you some other updates. The Ghana Armed Forces has clarified that body bags were indeed available during the recovery operation at a recent helicopter crash site. You recall that the bodies, the charred bodies of the fallen 8 were put in cocoa sacks and tied and conveyed to out of the forest, or outside of the forest, before they were moved to a place, before they were packaged properly, put in coffins, wrapped in the national colors, and then flown to Accra. The criticism was that it was not dignifying enough to have put these gallant men in cocoa sacks. Worst case, they could have used body bags. The military now clarified this week that it wasn't because they did not have body bags, but the condition of the bodies made it, improper to be put in the body bags because they were burning, they were hot, and the body bags would have been burnt, which would have created more issues. Indeed, some of the persons who carried the bodies on their heads in the sacks said when they carried them, they were hot. So, you can imagine what would have happened to the body bags, which mostly are plastic or polythene. So this is the military in this report clarifying some of the matters that came out belatedly, though, but of course they were mourning, so you can understand that. Let's hear them.
The August 6 helicopter crash, which claimed 8 lives, including 3 members of the Ghana Armed Forces, has prompted calls for more timely updates on the ongoing investigations. During a condolence visit to the Military High Command, the GJ expressed concerns over the perceived delay in information flow.
I believe that periodic and constant briefing in this regard will help clear some doubts. Even when there's no update, just giving or informing the public that investigation is ongoing and that the public should disregard.
Responding, Chief of the Defense of Staff, Lieutenant General William Ejapong, said investigations are almost complete, with the aircraft's black box retrieved and awaiting analysis by experts and manufacturers.
The investigations have started. We are about completing the preliminary investigations, and that is what we inform the kind of investigations that we need to undertake. As at this moment, we have retrieved and are keeping the anti-crash recorder. We are waiting on the experts, the manufacturers, and a decision will be taken as to how it will be decoded.
He also highlighted that the recovery effort was the fastest in the nation's history for a helicopter crash.
In terms of the recovery exercise itself, this is one of the fastest recovery exercises involving helicopter in our country.
On reports that the bodies were transported in sacks, he explained that although body bags were at the scene, the nature of the remains and operational constraints made it impossible to use them appropriately.
We had some body bags at the scene, but the remains were so heated that it was not conducive for the bags to be used. It was in a thick forest. It was getting late. We had the option of leaving our remains there till the following day, and we know what could have happened to the bodies.
All right, so we had the chief of the defense staff there speaking to some of the issues. Of course, when the GJA paid a courtesy call, visited them to commiserate with them for the loss of their men. Prof, Prof. Kwesi Agyekung is an aviation accident investigator, and he's been helping us deal with some of the technical issues, and he's been very much on point so far. He's an associate professor of aviation and aerospace sciences at the Department of Aviation, University of North Dakota, John D. Odegaard School of Aerospace Sciences in the United States of America. Prof, so this is what the armed forces or the chief of the defense staff is saying. Initially, when it happened, we criticized them that is not how you deal with your most prized people, put them in cocoa sacks, etc. It is not appropriate to do that. He's now explained that the circumstances did not allow them to even use their body bags, etc. And so this was the best way of doing it. Do you agree that this was possibly the best way to have handled the bodies or the remains of this gallant? Put them in cocoa sacks and then move them, because the body bags, the remains were not conducive. The nature and the state was not conducive for the body bags to be used.
Thank you very much for your question. I think I will just, at this stage, even though we want to introspect and be able to make amends because of the sensitivities, even with that whole discussion, I'll just want to defer to whatever the CDS said, and we'll take it out. From my perspective as an aircraft accident investigator, I think, Dr. Kofi, the forensic medical expert, stated that the field investigation itself is multidisciplinary. And so if I'm the...
That's Lawrence Kofi Achampong. Lawrence
Yes,
Achampong.
yeah, Lawrence. So if I'm the investigator in charge and I get to the crash site, normally we'll have the incident commander or the on-site commander. Normally that's the local law enforcement, the local police, maybe working with the fire service. One of the key elements of the site management is identification, preservation, and retrieval of remains. That is normally handled in the US by the coroner. Okay, because at that point, it is assumed that it's a crime scene. And so even as an aircraft accident investigator, that is one area that I'll defer to the expertise of the coroner or whoever, the judicial representative mandated to handle remains. And so if based on the expertise, I don't know whether they had a coroner or a medical, forensic pathologist on site, and they were best positioned to make that decision. I cannot sit here in the comfort of my office and in hindsight, be judgmental as to how those bodies were handled. Remember, these are also what? Perishable evidence. They couldn't have just left them there like that, because Kofi or Lawrence will agree with me that one of the key elements of forensic analysis is that we also even want to, as an investigator, I would like to have some element of what we call chemical toxicological analysis of the remains, especially the flight crew. It is very pertinent to my investigation because I want to know, hey, inadvertently or for some reason, did the crew take in something, were they on some medication or certain thing that could have potentially impaired their judgment, influence their performance on the flight. And so that is why it's very important to know or have the expertise on how to handle human remains at a crash site. And so maybe this is not the best practices, but remember, practically the constraint that the first responders faced. This is a hilly area, mountainous area. I learned it takes about 2 hours from the town to that place. They couldn't have left the remains there waiting for some super sophisticated body bags to be able to send it there and bring them down. So sometimes, yes, theoretical implications or what we teach in the classroom is there, but practicality also comes to bear. So if that is the case, and that was what was available to get them down so that we can have a dignified transfer, rather unfortunate, but somehow the job got done. We were able to have a dignified transfer. I don't know the level of putting them in sacks. How it contaminated the bodies for later forensic analysis. But whatever it is, that is why the investigation is taking place. These are all areas that if I'm an investigator, I'll write, in writing the report, we'll look at the appropriateness of the retrieval process and how best we can improve it if it were to happen again. So I would not, in hindsight, sit here and be critical of what transpired, because pragmatism faces theoretical consideration. That's all I have to say.
All right, so talk to us also. We know there are normally two pilots, the pilot and the co-pilot. For reasons you talked about, maybe the toxicological composition of all of that, to see whether they might have taken in something or not, and the instruments, the visual flight rules and all of that, using landmarks and the fact that they could be impaired, the fog, all of that. Is that not the reason why we have two people in there, so that it is not just the decision of one, it is a combined decision, so that if this is not clear to this person, hopefully it might be clear to this other person. If this person is feeling not so well, this person hopefully might feel better or well, so that they could eventually guide the aircraft to safe landing. Is that not why we have two of them? So how come that all of these things we are talking about, one could not be good enough or well enough to sort it out or to help the situation?
Yeah, thank you very much. As at now, we don't know. And so that is why the investigation is taking place as to what transpired in that cockpit. All that we are trying to say is that in aviation, the rule of redundancy, safety management, we always look at the rules of redundancy. And so that is why even in the cockpit, all the instrumentation, we try to have redundancy. We have doubling, so that they back up each other. Crew, we have what we call crew resource management. Okay, so under crew resource management, we are looking at things like effective decision making. We are looking at team dynamics. We are looking at effective communication. We are looking at things like situational awareness. How do you sense what is happening around you? Build the appropriate mental model which influences your decision, and you're able to project and make safety critical decision. The problem is, as at now, and that's why I stated earlier, as part of the investigation, we would like to, through interviews, through an analysis of the behavioral pattern, or maybe what was happening to the crew, 72 hours to the flight and 30 days prior to the flight. We want to know their mental state. I'm not saying something weird or something out of the blue had happened to them, but it's always good as an investigator to have that, build that psychological profile of the crew. Look, the most well-trained pilot, and I've been a military pilot, I've flown VVIP flights, I've been to Obuasi doing bullion flights, I've taken gold from Obuasi to Accra in my service days, I've been an airline pilot, and despite all my training, there have been times that because of some psychosocial factors, maybe it's even unrelated to operational matters, which sort of could potentially, we call it the I am safe rule. It sort of it sort of eats you up. And so as a pilot, you want the maximum focus on the task at hand. Unfortunately, as military folks, sometimes we have to compartmentalize. And so if you even have two crew members, the optimal situation is to have both of them in tip-top scenario. Because one, when the environmental conditions degrade, as could have happened, you are relying on your colleague to be able to provide the necessary inputs as part of the what we call the shared situational awareness or distributed situational awareness between the two crew members. So if, for instance, one of them is situationally, not aware of what is happening, the other one is normally supposed to help the other one to regain situational awareness. But hey, we don't know yet, and that is why we are collecting the body of evidence to be able to sort of build a holistic picture and find out how come we had two crew members and for some reason potentially there was a breakdown in I mean, I cannot be emphatic because I don't have the evidence, but somehow the level of crew resource management at that time, the outcome sort of almost doesn't support that fact. And also threat error management, how we appreciate the threat, the risk at that particular point in the flight. And so these are all areas that, like I said, there's so much hyper focused on only the flight data recorder, the cockpit voice recorder. That is just one aspect of the investigation. The human factors investigation is also very, very important. And so that is why, as an investigator in chief, I would work with a multidisciplinary team. We'll have flight surgeons, we'll have flight psychologists, and they will be probing. We would want to almost sit in the mind of the crew up to that point of the mix-up to find out, hey, what most likely was happening to the crew based on the cues that they were getting from the flight instrument, from the visual conditions outside, from their own physiological state, things like fatigue. So if, for instance, both of them, based on their flight duty time, there was a likelihood that there was fatigue, either acute or chronic fatigue. Fatigue is such that no matter the level of your training, it is going to impair decision-making. Your reaction time is going to be reduced, especially in safety critical or non-normal conditions. And so everybody should relax. Investigators, if they are professional enough, they will consider all the corpus of evidence, they will tie them together. It's like we are weaving kente. We are taking various strands of evidence. Some are blue, red, yellow, white, green. We are weaving it together to have an intricate tapestry. And then we present the report. And at the end of the day, all of us will see that, okay, most likely, this is what happened. And the most important thing is that if we know what has happened, how do we improve so that such a thing never happens again? We've lost crew members. We've invested so much into these people. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to train pilots. We don't want this to happen again. We don't want to lose personnel. As a retired officer, as a pilot, I mean, it still haunts me up to today. I was a safety officer for the Ghana Air Force base, head of safety, and a lot of establishing the safety management system for the Ghana Air Force. I've been involved in training these people when it comes to safety management, crew resource management, threat error management. And so it really eats into me, because how do we prevent this thing from happening? We don't want to lose equipment. We don't want to lose personnel. And most likely we want our personnel to go to work, do a superlative job, and come back home to their families. That is the number one, our objective. And Ghana deserves to, we need to move forward with what? Improvement in operational efficiency and in safety. So, in a nutshell, it is what we make out of this that is the most important thing.
Very well. Just a small point there. The psychological makeup of the pilot. We know that he had been bereaved a few weeks before, or so a month before, a sibling or a relative had passed. And also, I'm sure the daughter who was newly born, the wife said the daughter's health held him back for an extra week before he could leave and all of that. So the point you're making is that if these are proving, all of these could have worked on the minds of the person.
Exactly. From a human factors perspective, I mean, that is why we say that anytime in aircraft accident investigation, we tend to have the focus on, the crew, it was pilot error. We call it the proximal, focus. It was pilot error. But behind what we perceive as pilot error, in our hindsight bias, counterfactual arguments, we need to be, circumspect and drill back to higher level factors, what we call the blunt edge. So things like, what other factors could have influenced the performance of the pilot at the individual level, at the squadron level, at the Air Force level, at the strategic level, the decisions that are made, the support systems for the squadrons in terms of training, currency, equipment, everything will be considered. Because the pilots are the last line of defense. There are far bigger factors upstream that needs to be sort of probed, and we need to look at if there were systemic deficiencies
all the way to the top. Who provides the resources for us to be able to attain our operational, operational and tactical objectives?
Very well.
So if we don't provide the resources, basically we are setting up these people to fail. If you are not providing the resources for the Ghana Air Force, the new platform, the new technology, the training, consistent training, staff continuation training.
Very well.
And we expect them to perform.
Very well.
It doesn't work that way.
A final one, and quite briefly, also another pedestrian, talk and concern or curiosity that the plane exploded, not exploded, I mean, it caught fire. Why will it catch fire if it fell into the forest or crashed into the forest? We understand it's a very deep forest, and so it might have fallen on trees. Why will it catch fire and get the bodies burnt that way? Why didn't it just fall on it? Did it as if it fell on a hard ground, fall so hard that it explodes or it catches fire? Why will it catch fire if it even fell on trees?
Okay, so once again, maybe a little bit of the physics of or the mechanics of an aircraft or an aerial vehicle. This is a helicopter. You are talking about high kinetic energy because of the rotating parts. You have fuel on board. Remember, it was supposed to be a return flight. They don't have refueling facility in Obuasi. So most likely they would have what we call tankering. They would have taken enough fuel to take them to Obuasi and back. And so if from what we are gathering, for instance, if it was a controlled flight into terrain and they have the evidence, we are able to gather evidence to say, prove that. If any of the rotating part or any parts of the aircraft were to contact maybe terrain or maybe a tree, there obviously there will be separation of the parts. And remember, you have heated components of the engine. If you understand the dynamics of a turbine engine, air is being taken, it's compressed, it mixes with air. It is it's a controlled explosion within the engine, and that is what is generating the thrust to turn the turbine, which keeps the aircraft afloat. So anytime there is a perforation of the container that is holding these controlled processes, what gives what produces fire? You have an oxidizer, you have a fuel, fuel there, and then you have an ignition source. And so obviously if it contacted tree and there was separation and the engines are coming apart, the transmissions are coming apart, even when you are driving a car at top speed and you go up the road into a ditch and part of the engine casing is perforated or is breached with fuel coming out, you have an explosion because you have fuel, you have an oxidant, you have a spark. And so it is not out of this world that normally an aircraft crashes into terrain. You have what we call post-flight fire because you have oils, you have lubricants, you have fuel, all of them are flammable. And obviously there is air, there are hot sources, it will catch fire.
Very well. Thank you so much, Prof. Professor Kwesi Agyekum is Associate Professor of Aviation and Aerospace Sciences at the Department of Aviation, University of North Dakota, the North Dakota George D. Odega School of Aerospace Sciences in the U.S. Thanks so much for your interventions today and your expertise. We appreciate it, and thanks so much, Doc. All right, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, is joining us. Franklin, a few civil society organizations, at the time the investigations were announced, said they did not feel that the military should lead it, but an independent body should rather lead it. Now, we've heard from the military or the armed forces. They say they are collaborating with other international people to get these investigations done. Does that give you civil society people some reprieve or some confidence that we will have, or we'll get to the bottom of this? The fear was that, given how military people carry out their things, some things will be kept secret and not open to the public. Does this offer you some reprieve or some confidence that we'll get to the bottom of this?
Good morning to your good self and my colleagues on the panel. Dr. Agyekum, thank you so much for your scholarship. You know, I haven't heard Dr. Agyekum and indeed all security experts who have been speaking on this matter I think it will be a bit like foolhardy to suggest that any part of this investigation should be shielded at all. I mean, of course, even some of the most advanced countries, when these things happen, they try to be thorough and then make sure that not just thorough but also transparent. My worry though is that I'm not ascribing any. I would never ascribe any ulterior motive to the Ghana forces at all, not at all. But I'll be worried that for an army that is whose assets are somehow systematically declined over the years, they should be the most interested in making sure that this issue is investigated to its level. And if indeed any of the factors responsible for the crash are keen or are related to some of the rare information I've been privileged to see, the reports of the Armed Forces Council, and I think I've shared some already. I shared the summary, right? Um, it will be in their interest so that they rally the public along. There's a reason I'm saying this. You see, once we get there, don't forget, anytime certain equipment regarding equipment like aircraft is being purchased, either for the military. Sometimes the military you don't normally hear so much house or opposition from the opposing camps, political camps. But usually, if it's for the presidency, right, irrespective of whether the president is the armed forces chief or commander, whatever, it becomes a subject for constant political bickering. And much as I feel sad that such conversations should be politicized, well, you and I are also very much aware that the procurement-inspired economy that we run essentially makes it easy for the defense council or defense unit of the defense ministry to hide under these whole conversations about secrecy and then give us a bill that we would not be happy about. So the armed forces at this stage, having being between the extreme partisan, expressions or if you like angst against how the political politicians have used their army to purchase stuff that they don't necessarily require or they don't purchase substandard stuff, versus the fact that look, we've lost lives. These are human beings we've lost. Let's not forget that their parents, they have dependents. Yesterday was so sobering. I never cried in my life that much. Not because for money that I was close to, but the whole thing, these are humans we've lost. And I think it is important that whatever the armed forces, whatever council is interested in, they should be interested in just the truth, how this thing happened. No shielding. It will be foolhardy on their part to even entertain such a thought. And I've been talking to a lot of people. I mean, I met a former Air Vice Marshal last week, and we had conversations. And we want to start doing some real studies into these kinds of military. He's offered a scholarship and a few others as well. And I'm sure that these are areas that we need to start getting into as well. It is not rocket science. This thing, it shouldn't be something that, oh, armed forces, everything. What is secret? Secret about what? People have lost lives, or people will continue losing lives. As I hear, some of the aircraft that are, how do you call it, that old and disused are cannibalized to keep on peppering or tapering the ones that we have. What is this? What is this? I mean, I can't believe in for the life of me that we have an armed forces that is whose assets are systematically in decline. And I think I put it out there. I don't know if I probably should pull it out. And nobody has come to question it because the source I got it from, it's all corroborated from the highest level of the army, including the political. And I put it out because I thought, no way. We couldn't have borrowed almost 13 billion euros in the last 8 years, and we couldn't retool our platform simply because we were afraid that if we did, the opposition would take it. And indeed, the opposition at the time, the likes of my good friend Kujetu, even the late Mutala, questioned these purchases, not because they doubted the fact that I mean, maybe I'm speaking for them, not because they doubted the fact that we needed them, but also somehow because they fear that, all these things are procured quietly and then what do we do? Look at Ghana Gas. The moment you give any opportunity to a government entity to create certain institutions or create a personnel to harness our resources, they mess it up. Ghana Gas has more human beings. Sometimes I wonder whether the human beings themselves produce gas. than the Ghana gas itself was supposed to be set up for. You understand? And then they purchased an aircraft, which is what I suspect is being utilized right now for almost everything. Why should the army, the army that we said is the most, what's the word? When we were young, we said Ghana army, they share. You know, they do things, they go to Lebanon, they get all these good reviews and all of that. But at the home front, and I'm told that the things we have there that we call equipment, if Togo comes here within 2 minutes, will be run over. Assuming terrorists are listening. And don't forget all these things that are happening in the sub-region must also be worried. I'm sure Captain I didn't hear him initially, but I'm sure in his very advanced studies, I'm sure he would also be, just as you are asking questions, what if there were terror elements also? Because don't forget gold, smuggling gold, and all of these have connections of what I call, what's it called, organized crime, right? What if these people were there and then somehow they colluded and brought this aircraft? We don't know. But the response time of the army, what were they going to use in responding? It was a regional minister who was telling us about response time. What does he? He's like a layman. I'm like a layman. Why should we be listening to him when he said, "Oh, the army was there in record time"? With what? With what tools to collect the debris? Sorry, the human debris. Again, whatever we saw there, others were collecting those things. There are tools we use in collecting. Does the army have those tools? I'll be surprised if they have. They have such tools. So this is the time the army needs to. You see, the army has this unit they call the Army Civilian Relations. I think it was Dr. Adokufo who actually popularized this concept. Remember when he decided to demystify the army, that we need to have civilian relations. Even my good friend, the late General Quinn, when he eventually met students we put together to tell us how to prevent coups. It was an interesting encounter. And all the things he said, and the things he told us about the way the army is perceived. He said it's a farce. Armies are supposed to be relational. They are humans. And what do we know of army here? Hey, that's not what the army is supposed to be. So this is an opportunity for the army to extend these, if you like, civilian relations, because civilians have been killed. Civilians, even military people with wives, with dependents, and everything. So this is not a light matter. And I think that anybody who politicizes this matter must bow his or her head in shame. I think the military now should be more interested, and I think they have a listening president, John Mahama, who would make sure, and I know what the money used to do. I mean, we used to talk, and he complained about these things. And so this time we need to get on with it. We are not saying that whatever must have happened may be due to whatever, but the response time is a function of the assets that the army has. What tools would they even use to collect and do this investigation? That's why it is wise for the president to say, look, we need external help. But external help over evidence that has been probably tampered with body collected in sacks. Jesus Christ.
But that has been explained, that given the nature, the bodies were
I
heated.
understand.
All right, that's fine. So on that note, let me speak to Lawrence. So Lawrence, you were concerned about the contamination of the site, etc. Does this explanation by the military do it for you? I mean, obviously, the bodies were hot or heated, as they said. They couldn't have been carried in a certain manner, a manner that you would be happy with. And it was night was falling. They couldn't have left these bodies down there. They could have decomposed. We don't know who was behind this. People could have come to clear them off, and we don't know. So the best approach was what they did according to the military. So given that this is the best way we could have done it, how best can we get a good report or result from what we have in terms of investigations?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Please, I hope you can hear me. I think this is a very important area when it comes to forensics, and especially forensics in disaster. And I must say that there are international standards, and even the African Society for Forensic Medicine has standard minimum rules in situations of disaster victim identification. And it is stated clearly, and also even in the ICRC, WHO, and the American First Responder Guidelines, when it comes to disaster scene investigation. I must say that when it comes to the use of body bags, we need to really understand that we first of all, in any scene, do what we call the identification of the evidence, in this case as a human remains, and we recover. Okay, the recovery process is different from transportation, and I think we need to set this clear. The act of recovering evidence, in this case human remains, is a way, it has its own forensic way of recovering it. And according to the international guidelines, the best approach is the use of body bags. There are different types of body bags that are used for different processes. And according to the international standards too, disasters are chaotic. And in such situation, there are situations you will not have the body bags readily available. And in this situation, looking at the location where this happened, you might not really expect that in the fastest period of time, you would have had the body bags there. So the international standards also provides other means of improvising if the body bags are not available. And you can use what we call even bed sheets. You can use silos. You can use plastic sheets, depending on the type of disaster you are dealing with. However, it provides, according to the standards, that it has to be culturally and religious sensitive, because you might, in certain jurisdictions, be using body sacks, but the cultural predicament of the people might not be suitable, and it will actually mar the whole process of collecting such an evidence. And I would like to make this statement clearly. When you are dealing with issues of charred human remains in disaster scenes, you should know that they are fragmented, compromised, commingled. When we say commingled, that means you might have different body parts from different people together, okay? And it really poses a complex logistical, practical, and ethical challenges that actually may even prolong the disaster victim operation, or even preclude what we call identification efforts. So in such a situation, that is why we always call for the preparedness. So disaster becomes a response, but not a reaction. The moment it becomes a reaction, it becomes very difficult to really put your thoughts together to know the team that has to handle what and what. And that is what actually happened. Salom, I'll not take you far. Have you ever experienced or heard somebody who maybe conveyed the relative to a hospital? Some hospitals do not even have mortuary services. And sometimes they get there, some nurses or doctors will even come and look at the bodies in the car and say that we cannot handle it. Some of them even declare some people dead in the car, and they say they should take them to the mortuary. Have you asked yourself, is it the same taxi driver who brought that sick person who is supposed to take that body back to a hospital that is having a mortuary? Do we allow taxi drivers to carry dead bodies in their cars? Or we need to have a very structured system where in somewhere in Nigeria and in some literature, they have suggested what we call an ambulance, which is similar to an ambulance, because you do not carry dead bodies in ambulance, because you need the ambulance to cater for the people who are alive. You cannot go and use it to be carrying dead bodies. So we need to have a system, if we have an emergency response system, to have actually a system where an ambulance is carried. Let me also make this clear. When there are human remains in disaster scenes, as Prof said, it actually falls on the level of the coroner. And the coroner investigates every cause of death that is suspicious. So in that regard, the coroner will issue, and the forensic pathologist actually plays a very critical role when it comes to that. And for that matter, when it is issued for investigations to be done, the way the human remains are collected are so much important. And every disaster is having different context, and we approach it differently. The principles, the processes, and the approach are different. So when you say that you want to actually convey human remains in cocoa sacks, you have to really look at it. Is it culturally sensitive? Is it religiously sensitive? And we have to look at those, although the international guidelines provide for, to improvise, but you need to look at the circumstances that you are. So when it comes to recovery of the human remains, there has to be a planning stage. We ask ourselves the basic elements. Where is the body being transported after we have recovered it, putting it in a proper bag or improvised bag?
Very well.
Okay, where is the body supposed to go? And how are we going to take those bodies? And what in terms of preparation? And in these situations, normally we have two approaches. We either do what we call a dry transfer or a wet transfer. Okay, the wet transfer is normally, it deals with when we are transferring fresh body or charred body that we have to transfer it over a long distance, especially in the hot and humid weather, where actually decomposition can set in. In this case, especially in mass fatalities, we do the wet transfer. And with the wet transfer, we need to move it without compromising anything. So that is why I'm sure those who got there first wanted to achieve, and that is the right principle.
Very well.
However, when we are doing that, we need to ensure all the parameters to prevent decomposition and make sure that we get the bodies to where it's supposed to be.
Great. Very deep insight there. We'll take a short break. When we return, I will come to the Honorable Isaac J. Mensah and then the Honorable Ofosu Asamoah Esquire to take their views on this, and then we'll call it a day. This is a big issue. We'll be right back.
Ghana, West Africa. The mornings are somewhat, if not for the perfect companion. What a good day to start. Another day. It always smiles knowing we are together.
Ooh, what a feeling. We not go, you there for family. If you not be you, then who go there?
Work is always effective with Nasco Home Appliances. No wahala if the sun is up. We there for your appetite. Never a dull moment to go up something chilled. Classic home appliance for the fisher folks. Good vibes only while you wait. The feeling hits very deep. Enijepa ewa Nasco fie. Nasco, bring home happiness.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go!
It's on SuperSport all season long. Pay your subscription today. Dial star 759 hash. Available on DSTV and GoTV.
You're welcome back. This is the big issue, the very final lap of the program. My in-studio guest, the Honorable Isaac J. Mensah, Member of Parliament for the Wasa East constituency on the ticket of the NDC, and the Honorable Ofosu Asamoah Esquire, who's a former MP for Kede, former Deputy Regional, Eastern Regional Minister, former Executive Director of the National Labour Commission, well decorated, studio guest. And of course, we have Franklin Kujo on, Lawrence Kofi Champon, and Richard Kumado on Zoom as well. So I'll share the last few minutes amongst them. So, Honorable, you were not very particularly happy about Richard Kumado's point about politicians controlling the Galamsey menace. And he thought that, or he said, that if politicians want this to end, it will end. And it's because the politicians have not been committed or they've not shown leadership. That's why we are continuing to have the menace even exacerbating, many have said. Why because politicians, it's an executive government, it's a civilian government. Politicians give instructions or give orders to even the military people. So why do you think that it's not the politicians controlling this?
Yeah, thank you so very much. Whilst we're giving the credentials, I'm the Committee Chairman for Roads and Transportation Committee in Parliament.
Very well, very well noted.
Also the Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways.
Oh, I see. That's noted as well.
And so I think that we are in the process of resolving this matter. And that is why when you ask the question, what will be the motivation for this momentum of unity, resulting from this crash? You see that we were together in the mourning process and so on. So something is there that we can take advantage of. So I believe that what is the cause of this challenge is the matter. Is all about the drive, the motivation to resolve this Galamsey issue. And so it's a cooperative mining. And so I think that it's a collective, fighting Galamsey is a collective action. It's a collective,
But somebody must lead the charge.
Of course, yeah. It's about leadership.
So that's the political leadership,
So a process has started. There's a new government. And a program is in place now. Why do you want to trash it? Because there's a process in place. There's a new government. We was talking about Galam Stop and Galam whatever. It's during MPP time. So President Mahama, in resetting Ghana, has come out with this program. So you see all these Galamsey people literally around there have to be brought together. And the cooperative mind is also, supposed to resolve some of these problems. The issue of Galamsey is not only politicians, it's about leadership. Political leadership is one of that. You have traditional leadership involved in that. You have the economic leadership. The chunk of it is the financiers, the elites who have the money, because they have the capacity to corrupt everybody. So together, we provide leadership.
But the point is that the political leadership is really intent on.
And that is what you are seeing, and you're not getting it, man. You're not getting it. There's a new government, and so this crash is, as a result of people going to unveil this program. So let's give it a support. So if you sit down there and say the politician, what is his role in that? I have worked in the mining company, Newmont, Ghana Gold, and Anglo Gold and so on, where in those days, the miners had the capacity to protect its own, resources, to the extent that when the guys were coming to our concessions, they were puffed off. They couldn't come because the military were there and proper support and so on and so forth. And alternative livelihood programs were provided for them. So this government has come in with this program of cooperative mining. Bring all these guys together, give them the training, give them the equipment and so on. Let them do a responsible mining. Because you cannot just sit down and say you are going to get Galamsey out of the place without you bringing a program. So we are all needed on board. The chiefs, the traditional leaders, those financiers, everybody must be brought on board. So if you sit down there and give up, you raise your hands up and say politicians and so on. Yes, they provide leadership. But when leadership is provided, when the instruction of everything is given, we must all take part in that one. So he probably is not aware of what is happening now. In resetting Ghana and resetting the system, we need to have a new model. And that is what is happening. So he, being an analyst, must develop interest in that. If we think around that is a politician, we might not be able to do anything. We are all collectively involved, chiefs, religious leaders, everybody. You're also involved. The perception being created now is that is the politician. Then we are giving up. This government, President Mahama's government, it's unfortunate that this issue happened. It's resetting the system, and Galamsey control and so on is what is going to happen. And so let's all support it.
So the point you're making is that after we finish mourning, we can expect tougher action from government.
You see that the perception you have. What is tougher action are we talking about?
No,
are you talking about sending the military there and go and crash people?
No, I mean putting everything everything on the table.
Sorry. So yes. So more responsible, more organized approach. But if it's a tougher, you are trying to bring the military in and just, you see, you can get the police in there. What the military aspect who was talking about doesn't support it. It's not going to happen. You bring people on board. what is happening? Let's get into details. What is it all about the cooperative mining? I'm not sure you're even up to date on that. To speed up to that.
Yeah, because you
may be brought up to speed.
Yeah,
There's a new system going on.
So what is it? How different is that from the community mining that we saw?
Exactly. So what is the cooperative mining? Is where the villagers, those guys doing all those, are brought together as cooperatives. The cooperative mining is also gallant. They were not able to control it, to manage it. So a more refined approach, this cooperative mining, let's get into it. Let's support it and to work.
So I thought the community mining was to bring all those individual miners together.
So what is the cooperative mining?
Yeah, so you tell us.
So you don't know. If you don't know,
that's why you are here. So
you
tell
don't
us.
have the time. You see, that's
tell us.
I just told you. Just tell us. Are you using my? What is it? You have about 8 minutes of.
No, don't worry. But you just talk to me.
I'm worried about your approach. My point is that it's when you begin to think that the politicians are involved in that one. Yes, the politicians are giving some direction. They're providing some leadership, and so you have a new model coming in. A governor just came in 6-7 months, and you are behaving as if it's the old regime. The new regime has come with a new model, and the approach is that the cooperative mining has come to bring a new way of managing illegal mining. And so let's support it. My concern is that don't just sit down there trying to bastardize the politicians and say, another political group has just accepted power. So I think that if you want to invite the minister for land, and you obviously come here, to brought you guys up to speed. There have been a lot of activities where I don't know why you have not been partaking in that. I will encourage you to develop interest in that. The drive,
as in the media, we have a lot of interest in it. We have reporters who are dedicated to environmental and
I'm aware, and for a station, for a group. It seems that you know of the what they call it, the community mining. You are not aware of the new model.
No, it's new.
The minister has started a program of bringing people to speed as to this program, and that was going to be unveiled. So going forward, all the media guys yourself, and I will insist that your station will be invited, so that they run you through. There's so much hope in this.
Yeah, so you admit there's a new system, and information on it.
I'm telling you,
it's yet to get down there. So that's why it's important that we engage or keep engaging for us to understand it better, so we can promote and help it.
You are going to get it. Unfortunately, you spend all the time talking to those people in the Zoom, and I was telling him that if that Zoom.
No, I mean it's so what they also brought some perspective.
Collectively, we need to come together and get this issue. I think that when this issue came up, and the way Ghanaians have been united in mourning and so on, all is about illegal mining. Let that momentum be maintained, and we move on. I think that this is the right approach. There's, the resetting Ghana agenda with this cooperative mining is the best way forward. And I think going forward, the ministry will intensify its education program and move from there.
Very well.
Unfortunately, you have a limited time, and so I don't know what I have to. So thank you so very much for
it's a pleasure.
The next time, I think give us good time. No, I told you I was going somewhere. I sat down 2 hours, not doing anything.
No, we appreciate your coming, and we are so grateful that you've come to bring perspectives. Honorable Fosu, yes, your colleague doesn't seem to agree that politicians can do more than we have seen them do in respect of the fight against galamsey.
We provide leadership. You don't know the model that is coming.
Yeah, but I'm saying that.
But he is saying that it's the politicians.
Very well. I'm sure he has his own ideas about that. All right, so
I think I agree. You don't see it's politicians. Politicians are involved.
Are part of the problem.
Are part of the problem. Just as chiefs, just as you and I, all of us. That's why I say we need a collective and a holistic.
But the counter argument is that the politician, the politician is the one who controls things. I mean, he has negative power.
That is why I talked about leadership. We are always in the lead. Political heads are always the heads and in the lead. It doesn't mean that everything lies on the shoulders or neck of the politician. So all of us are involved.
Exactly.
And even the leaders, we vest the powers in them. And we have the power to take away the power we have given them from them through the ballot box.
Exactly.
Right. So collectively, we are involved, and holistically, we must approach. But you were talking about this community responsible mining, whatever. Look, it's the same thing. In Ghana, we just name from SSS to SHS to Ministry of Employment and Social Welfare to Ministry of Jobs, and this year we are doing the same thing. Nothing has changed. So let us approach the issues as they are.
That's
I
what
look
you're
at
doing.
this with the military, and people are saying the military. Look, if the military does anything that is not proper in this investigation because they want to cover it, they are the principal beneficiaries of whatever investigation report. They fly the place. It is not you and I working at CTFM or this thing. So I don't want to believe that the military, Ghanaian military being involved will not do a good work unless where they are incapacitated either by the instruments they will need or perhaps the expertise for which I think they have called upon the Americans to collaborate. Now, when talking about these body bags, sometimes I think people should keep quiet and not just come out. If you are saying that you went there with body bags and you realize that the body were hot and that if you put it in the bag it will melt, and so you have to use cocoa sacks. Were they carrying the cocoa sacks on board, or it was when they got there they reached out to the farmers? Were they going to their cocoa farm with those fresh cocoa sacks to go and collect cocoa?
We don't know how.
Or they reach out to the CMB. And we are told that walking from the town to the is about 2 hours. And flying an aircraft, right, another chopper from Accra to that place takes less than 45 minutes to get there. So what happened when the military got there? They sent people to town to go to CMB to go and bring cocoa sacks because the bodies were hot. By the way, the bodies that they were going to collect were they not bodies that had been charred as a result of an explosion, an accident, or burns? So when they were carrying those plastic bags, what did they think they were going to do? What were they going to pick? You see, we must be smart and treat the public with some level of intelligence that whatever you are telling us, we are going to look into it or ask a few questions. I see the cocoa bag. What stops the military from removing their, what do you call it?
Their uniforms.
Their uniforms. Right? Because all of them were wearing inner vest, which is made of cotton and they're very thick to wrap it. Or some bed sheets.
Very dignified.
Yes, a little bit dignified than cocoa sacks. I mean, the thing is that at what time all those cocoa sacks, were they on the site?
No,
were the people on the cocoa farm? Did they come to town, walk for 2 hours in and out to pick the cocoa sacks? Or flying whatever this thing there? The military said, oh, let's go, it might be hot, so we have to get some cocoa sacks. We don't always have cocoa sacks.
Well, I think all of that will be
of questions. So
yes, all of that will be
you see, it is where we don't have a scientific interpretation to things that happen that we resort to spiritualities. That is why all these prophets are saying, I saw it, and what did they see?
Very well.
But at the end of the day, I expect our professionals, forensic experts, the military, civilians, or anybody with expertise who is called upon to do engage in this investigation to do a proper job in collaboration with the experts that may come from outside. I hear the US have been invited.
We have some external people. We don't
not
know
forgetting that, yes, they've mentioned US, that is what I said. Not forgetting that this aircraft was given to us by the Chinese. So perhaps we may need them. And some of us who can ask questions. Well, whatever they bring out there will be interrogated properly.
Very well.
You have talked about former this.
No,
presently, who am I?
You are a lawyer and
I'm
private practice.
I'm former minister. Yes.
You're a lawyer and
I'm a senior partner at my chambers.
Very well.
And in the future, I'm going to be the first vice chair of the MPP.
Very well.
Party.
Oh, I see. So you are running for it, and you are with Japan. Great.
And currently, I'm the campaign manager for
Japan. Great. We are wishing you the very best in that endeavor.
And I'm your friend.
Yes, we are good.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I'm in the midst of friends.
Richard, you have 30 seconds to wrap this for us. Wrap up this for us. Hello, is Richard there? Yeah.
What do you want me to say?
No, just your final thoughts. Yeah.
When I say politicians, you asked me a question about, and I said there's political interest. The politicians in the studio want to eat me up, and it was assuming that I'm just an analyst. I've put in 29 years, both for
that's appreciated. But
I hold about this expertise.
Yes.
So when you come against me in that manner, you are tempting me to say some things.
It's all right. So don't say anything.
I thought all of you were just completely.
No, we appreciate you as always.
Guess what? The bodies have been buried. When you listen to the CDS, he told you that investigatives were done and they have completed or just about to be completed. And for the fact that the bodies were buried, it means that the initial assessment or the investigations that started, they would have gotten about 70 to 80% of what happened to us, what is likely to remain, and what is likely to be changed. And it's based on that on Thursday or Friday, when the cabinet meeting was held, the president would have asked for certain expertise, which is not out of place and which is not unusual.
Very well.
To ask people for help. So if you are not willing to exhume the bodies, then for the fact that the bodies were done, it means that investigations have been somehow completed, and there are various aspects of the investigations, and Americans coming in and some other people who might have come in will tell us exactly what the collaboration of the body of evidence is. Considering the fact that the forensic and the DNA was done in South Africa, it wasn't just identification that was done. There was other advanced forensic that was done to collaborate whatever investigations we'll be doing in this country.
Thank you so much, Richard Kumar. Frankly, we'll continue next week. This is how we conclude today's edition of the program. My name is Selom Adunu. My guests have been fantastic. Thanks so much for doing the listening.